Esports is proud to bring you a championship event like no other. The System 7. This exciting rally circuit pays homage to Earth's classic rally and Formula One traditions, pushing drivers and their teams to their absolute limit across some of the toughest terrains Stanton has to offer. Qualifying teams will push through 7 individual races, located across the system, from the isolated moons of Crusader to the bustling city centers of Hurston and Microtech. Each race, pilots will control a featured vehicle, from the rugged Drake Dragonfly to the lightning-fast Tumbril Cyclone, navigate perilous terrain and conditions, as well as one another. Racers will face off on Magda, crashing through mountain passes and dusty valleys. Wallow, where jutting cliffs and deep craters force pilots to thread the perfect line. And Cleo, where one wrong move means plummeting into a lunar sea. Racers will pick up individual wins across the races, but only the team with the highest overall standing can claim the title of System 7's champion. Sign-ups begin soon. Get your crew together and join us for the System 7. You won't want to miss it.
Oh, 7 Star Citizens, and welcome back to the System 7 for the final time this year. It is the finals. We've had our 7th race, and it's actually the 7th race. And I am joined once again, as I have been all season, by Red Monster.
Yeah, welcome. It is finally here, the race number 7 here at Volcano Lake. And yeah, we've got a fantastic event coming up today. Now, this is going to be an interesting track. We've been talking about it all season, coming up to this real grand finale. But we've got quite a few teams that are going to be participating. But our top 3 is mostly mathematically, they're locked in. But there is some wiggle room as far as who's going to be first, second, and third there. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how that goes today and who's able to survive through it. And, of course, as you mentioned before, the track is going to be difficult.
Yep, it's going to be a good time today. So strap yourselves in, grab yourself some drinks, grab yourself some food, and get ready for the finals, because today is also going to be a long one. Now, let's look at where we're sitting today. We've been doing this for a little over 2 months now, and we have some results. Currently, first place, Punch Nomi's. Second place, Amarok's Fang. Third place, Delta Dietus. And this is where the bulk of the really exciting stuff is going to be today, is these 3 teams essentially fight for their positions in the top 3. Now, they're pretty solidified in terms of where their positions are right now. So each one of these teams looking for a miracle in order to get themselves towards the top. But the math is there. There is a world where we get to see some pretty crazy fights here. We've seen some awesome performances from Team Punch Nomi's, why they've put themselves at 127 points. And then we've also got a lot of teams coming back today to try to continue to prove themselves for future System 7s.
Yeah, and not mathematically locked out of it is Amarok's Fang, just 21 points behind them. And Delta Dietus, who's in third place solidly, but does have an opportunity to upset for a second place with 91 points coming in behind, just 15-point differential there. So
yeah,
the rest of the field, we've got Catcom, Blackhawks, Test Squadron, Premier Core Colonial, Venture Origins, all kind of vying for that middle of the pack, as well as some of the favorites, Kuroda, Sire Racing, Liz Motorsports, and Alpine Storm, bringing up that second group.
Yep. Now, as does tend to happen towards the end of the season, as people are locked out of the top 3, we see a couple of drops. So we're going to be seeing 8 teams today. So the teams to look out for when you are watching today, we have Premier Core Colonial, Drunken Turtle Racing, Amarok's Fang, Delta Dietus, Kuroda Racing, Punch Nomi's Test, and Venture Origins. So trying to put themselves into a solid position at the end of the season. A reminder that the top 3 teams already qualify for next year's season. So they have already been locked in. They're already getting in there. So now it is just a case of where can you get yourself finished this year so that you can come back next year and try to beat your previous score.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just putting those numbers up, running the track, having your experience behind you, and some bragging rights to say that you finished it out strong.
Yep, exactly. So Let's have a look at track number 7, race number 7, where we're going to be heading off to today. This is Volcano Lake. Our final race of the season, as always, is a rally. So we are, relay, not rally. We are going to be using the RSI Lynx and the Tumbrel Cyclone. Links from start all the way to checkpoint 1, and then we're going to be jumping over into a cyclone. Now, this is a very, very treacherous track with a lot of very deep little puddles around the lake that you can get yourself caught into, and if you do, you will explode. So you've got to make sure you're going as, honestly, kind of as wide as possible for a lot of this. But then we're going to force you to come really, really close into the lake there at that bridge section. Why don't you tell everyone about it, Red?
Yeah, that Polaris Bridge is going to be tricky. There's a section of this scattered lakes area that is impassable except for with some assistance here. Now, this could cause some potential desync issues. This could just be a bottleneck point. A lot of the track up to this point will be open for those racers. They'll be able to pick a lane and stick with it without much interference. But if teams end up getting there at the same time, we could see some head-to-head battles to try and get into position as they go across that Polaris Bridge. We have some great views here. This is a track that's known for fast banks and these scattered small lakes that are going to be difficult to navigate between. So the teams that are out there studying and knowing which direction to go, maybe not getting off track too much, but ensuring that they navigate properly and get themselves out across this difficult terrain. So,
yeah, really hoping that we get a bunch of our races through for this race. Like I said, it's going to be incredibly treacherous around the lake area, but should be a absolute ton of fun and should be very, very entertaining for you guys sitting at home. Now, before we continue talking about this race, it's not the last you're going to see of Atmo in the next few months. There is another brand new race coming up very, very soon. Gravity Rush. If we've got the tape, let's roll it. That is right. We are bringing ship racing to Atmo Esports. This is going to be an absolute ton of fun. Red, give them the little spiel.
Yeah, so Gravity Rush is organized by Atmo and Laser, which is Litho Aerospace Racing. Sign-ups are open right now through June 14th, and the time trials are open now through June 16th. So we've got quite a bit of prizing happening with that Gravity Rush. But it is one of those throughout each stage. Certain teams are eliminated. Only a handful are going to go to the finale. But our top 3, we've got flight sticks, we've got jerseys, we've got medals, and digital goodies from CIG. So.
Yep, it's going to be a very, very fun time. So make sure you guys check it out. gravityrush.gg. Follow the link and get your sign-ups in. Now, I did hear you just talk about prizing there for a moment, Red. And we have some fantastic news for our viewers. We have the prizes for today for the finish of the System 7. And what an absolute smashing group of prizes. So for our first place team today, they will be receiving, of course, the 2955 trophy, a System 7 medal per team member, and the big prize, an Anvil Liberator. Look, we've got to be moving those cyclones across the place, right? Everyone needs to be able to move them towards their next race.
One of the most exciting transport ships you can have out there, and every racer's necessity in their hangar. Because simply, if you're like me, you crash a lot, you need some spares, and the Anvil Liberator is going to help deliver them.
Yep. In addition, we have, of course, our signature championship jacket for each team member of the winning team and a couple of ground vehicles as well. But it doesn't just stop there. We also have some fantastic second and third place prizes. Second place, one team member will receive an Anvil Asgard, apologies, as well as a jersey and a couple of ground vehicles. And our third place team will receive a Starlancer Max, some jerseys, and some ground vehicles. So enough for the entire team to come back next year completely kitted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the Starlancer Max, the Anvil Asgard both also equal. Now, have you had an opportunity to get into the Asgard? I know that's the most recent
Yes.
addition here, but yeah, what are your thoughts? Exciting stuff with it, right?
It is pretty cool. Look, I'm still a Valkyrie fanboy, and this does have some things that are a little bit cooler, but I certainly I certainly appreciate the extra guns and the turret abilities that you get from the Valkyrie. So
hmm
I'm not converted just yet, but I do love those extra wings that it gets. The Asgard, it makes it look
Yeah,
a lot cooler.
it looks pretty mean, but I will say the Liberator is definitely the prize you want today. So.
Yes, definitely for sure. Now, like we said, it's been about 2 months that we've been doing the System 7 for this year. Let's have a look back at where we came from. We had a couple of issues at the start of the season, so we had to mess around with our weird little race order. So we actually started with race 5, I believe. Race 3. Look, it's been a long few
I
months.
think race 3, the Rift of a Deer, and that was a
That's right.
great one with the Drake Dragonfly. Starting through and called the crack track. I know you hate that, Croncy, but the crack, this obsidian rift on a deer, one of the most striking features in the game, in Stanton or Pyro, a 700-kilometer-mile long obsidian rift that these racers they took the Drake Dragonfly through, and we saw a lot of collisions, a lot of folks that were just duking it out, just trying to survive on this difficult track, and set the stage for the initial points leader. So
Yeah, look, the Gravlev vehicles can be a little bit of a problem sometimes. They can be a little bit nasty, but we still had an absolutely fantastic start to the race with that one. And then we moved on to race number 4.
we did 5 first, and then switched over to
5?
4 the same day. We had quite a busy deal.
That's right.
This
Yeah,
was the
yes. We
Clio
had our
Heli
double day.
Pass.
Our double day.
Yeah. This one we saw a lot of racers expiring due to environmental issues. Clio is a
Yes.
notoriously frigid landscape, and it's alternating valleys and flat segments that just border on that lake area. But as we saw, the temperatures are rough. That saw a lot of our racing teams expire due to those environmental conditions. But those who were able to make it, securing some points as well.
Yeah, we had a lot of sort of. This is where we got to see a lot of the differences between a bunch of our races, as we had a couple of races try to go like directly up some very, very large hills and essentially miss out on some solid paths. But I believe this one was won by Herbie from Team Gerbies. Gerbies? Nomies? Sorry, I have had
Punch
4
nose?
hours of sleep
Punch-
before this. I'll get there, guys. I'll get there. I swear I'll wake up. But it was a very, very solid race. But like you said, this was actually the second race in the day. And we actually went to race number 5 before this.
Yeah. Because numbers are hard. Now, this was our first of the heat races with the reverse snake pit in the Origin X1. We saw teams put in, I want to say, race number 5. We had the fastest lap put in again by Team Punch Nomies. Gerbo the Gnome delivering this one. Fastest lap at 1:19 seconds. And a very tight track, looping back upon itself. Why the reason why they call this the snake pit through the heats of 4, establishing the final 4 and the runners up. Team Punch Nomies securing another first place there, but not to be left out. Delta Diatus in second place, Amarok's Fang in third place, Blackhawks in fourth place, coming up with some additional points there. This was a really fun day. We had 6 heats overall, and just photo finishes down to the wire there. So
Yeah. Do have to say this was by far my favorite moment of the entire System 7 this year. Was during the runner-up finals. We had a big fight between Neojet and Blue Barafina. And then right at the very end, in the very last lap, as Blue Barafina was attempting to catch onto Neojet, in the very last literal like corner just before, the 2 corners just before the finish line, Neojet had a collision with the ground and Blue Barafina was able to overtake. Not to mention, moments earlier, they were overtaking each other due to some like major height differences at the bottom of the snake pit. So by far my favorite
Yeah.
moment of the entire season this year. That was yeah, that was special.
And that's the type of moment that sets racers apart here and really establishes there's so many of those we've seen throughout the series here.
Hmm.
Now, moving on, we went to the Leisure Loop and Cloud Chasers, both platform races on Orison. The Leisure Loop
Yeah.
with the Grey Cat STV, and yeah,
Hmm.
this was an expanded concept of the Cloud Chasers. But this Orison platform, it was difficult. It was tough. There were
Yep.
bridges that they had to cross with narrow clearances, but a larger track that these STVs were able to manage mostly, although we did have some issues with some tractor beams on this race. They went to a time trial as a
Hmm.
backup option uh, because of those issues, just to keep it fair. So the racers coming in with their time
Yeah.
trials, teams putting up those numbers and establishing their positioning there.
Yeah, so this one, hopefully, we get to have a look at this one again, maybe in some a little less buggy situations, as it would be nice to see exactly what our teams can do against each other here at the Leisure Loop. But then, exactly like you said, we headed to another area of Orison. And this time, we were running the Mules. This is a classic Cloud
Hmm.
Chasers race. This is a heat-based race for Mules, and we saw a lot of people fall into
Oh,
the center of Crusader during this race.
this
It was a
this
bit
was
of
a
a nail
treacherous
biter for a lot of
track.
it.
I think
Definitely.
delivering on some of the best highlights we've seen so far, these racers getting tangled up right at the edge of these platforms. And when those vehicles get turned over, they are going to right themselves in whatever direction they want. And we saw several racers crashing to their doom, unable to finish their heats. So uh, we saw some fantastic views. We saw some great crashes and a few folks that decided to go skydiving as they exited the race track. So
Yeah, one thing that was very apparent is pretty much where you can see those first two arrows in the bottom left corner. There was a lot of collisions there
oh
as
yeah,
people tried to sort of push their way in, and that didn't end up working for a lot of our
yeah, some
competitors. But yeah,
really the first bottleneck of this track as the racers are trying to get started, establish their positioning, an overhang and some trees really funneling them in. And yeah, as we saw, 10, 20 seconds into these races, it was pretty clear if someone was going to get knocked out. And then we moved on to
exactly.
Bermuda Bay on Pyro IV with the Aopoa Nox, one of our fastest races. This is smooth straightaways over the water between island entry points, and the terrain here was the real killer. And I say killer because a lot of racers met their doom on this pretty early.
Yeah, so we had two attempts at this race, as our first attempt was just fraught with desync, very, very rough server. So we threw the red flag, and a second race was called. In the second race, a lot of our racers fared significantly better. Now, there's two major issues here. Once again, we're on the Gravlevs, so there can be a lot of issues with just,
Hmm.
they're hard to operate in a lot of these really, really big terrain areas. So we saw a lot of collisions in the big terrain areas. But in addition, the water can be a little bit rough sometimes too. If you enter a little bit too shallow, you're going to blow up there. But for the most part, once you got onto the water, you were smooth sailing until you got to the next island. So very, very
Yeah.
solid run here as well. And once again, won by Team Punch Nomies.
Yeah, and fantastic timing there as well. That 29 minutes 44 seconds for the fastest lap. We had six of the teams complete that race, with several others. Well, six of the teams that were close. We had four finishers, and at least a couple there landing up on the points board. So
Yep. So that was our first six races. Our six races of the System 7 that have put us to where we are today, where we see Punch Nomies, Amarox Fang, and Delta Dietus now fighting for their respective positions in the top
yeah.
three. Now, we have some views available that we'll go to in a second, but before we do that, Red, why don't you tell us a little bit about Icon City?
Well, Icon City provides icons for your stream deck. From sci-fi themes to studio grade layouts, they bring personality and power to your stream deck. So if you're somebody like me who uses a stream deck on a regular basis, the number of keybinds you've got to remember for StarCitizen are insane. Having them quickly accessible via your stream deck instead of having to remember those gives you a nice visual representation of how that looks. So if you're looking for those, check out Icon City and use the code ATMO at checkout for a discount.
Definitely do so, guys. If you are just joining us, welcome back once again to the System 7. It is the finals today. It is the absolute last race that we are going to be doing this season. It has been a hell of a season. And let us know in any respective chats, if you're watching here on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, X, wherever, let us know what has been your favorite moment so far this season. We've been talking a little bit about where everyone can land today. Punchnome is currently coming in first. Amarok's Fang in second. Delta Dietis in third. A pretty big fight, but a very, very hard fight for some of our teams to try to fit themselves into second or third. I want to ask you, Red, what team do you think has outperformed your expectations this season?
As far as outperforming my expectations, I think Premier Court Colonial has done really well. They've got 7th place. They've been an audience favorite, and they did have some early struggles with some DNFs. So seeing them coming back in, kind of in the middle of the pack, they've done very well. But I will say, if we're going to talk about any team that's outperforming, let's talk about Test Squadron. Barely making it in on the qualifiers, just fractions of a second to get into this race, and really putting up decent finishes. We saw they're currently in 6th place, so creeping in. They had some contention for the top 3. Mathematically, it's not going to work out for them today, but at least representing well and coming in with a total of like 28 points on the leaderboards, which puts them within the middle of that pack. So I would say for any team, I appreciate what they've been doing. So
yeah, let's bring up Test Squadron. We have a little profile picture of those. So we do have the Midnight Bard, we have Renee, Ryonen Shonen, and we have Spitfire. So this is a team from the USA and Canada, mostly using HOTAS, but then also mouse and keyboard. But exactly like you said, they just barely made it in from the qualifiers and then have proved that while they may still have a long way to go in order to get to top 3, this year they certainly deserve to be in the System 7. Really, really hoping they come back next year and give it a go once again, because it is a team that also 100% very, very surprised me. We saw some really good performances. Some of the races we saw Renee absolutely crushing it for this team this year. But unfortunately, halfway through the race, there would be a collision or whatnot. So not able to prove their full breadth of exactly, just how good races these are. So like I said, I think they've got more they can prove. They've just maybe not had all the opportunities to.
And having a couple of really good anchor players here, anchor racers, Renee with 5 out of the 7, or 5 out of the 8 representations. And then, we're going to be seeing the Midnight Bard today. We saw the Midnight Bard previously in race number 2. And we're going to be seeing both Renee and the Midnight Bard between the Lynx and the Cyclone. So we'll see them anchor it together.
A team I want to talk about is Delta Dietis. Delta Dietis, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. This team has been performing insanely well over the course of a bunch of System 7s. And this year, they have pushed themselves into the top 3. They've absolutely crushed it. So, Checked Leak and Space Tech, our team of 2 this year. So, a much smaller team than a lot of our other players. They do not have the luxury of being able to sort of throw anyone that they can at a race. If neither racer can make it, they're just out, right? So, very, very dedicated racers. And they've done a really good job this season.
Yeah, and they are really positioned to be the upset for the 2nd place team, going head to head with Amarok's Fang. There's a 15-point differential here between that 2nd and 3rd place, and you've got to believe Check League, who's going to be representing in both legs of today's relay. They're hungry for it, right? There's 15 points difference they need to make up to break into that 2nd place position. So you'll want to watch on how this team performs if they can make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Now we're right now looking at Delta Dietis. Let's push a little bit to Amarok's Fang, our second team, a current 2nd place team, a team that did auto qualify from last year. They're back and they have once again qualified for next year, so they've run it back. and this is a scary, scary team. Dark Hour, Anroll, Gravity Cat, and Big Flex. One of the things I absolutely love about this team is it's one of the best performing teams that isn't a super team, if that makes sense. So I've talked before in the past about these super teams of races from previous events joining together and hooking up over the course of the year before the season starts, and then making this really, really powerful team. This team has just been good since the get-go, since they've joined up together. And it's great to see that they have proved once again just how good they are.
Yeah, and we're gonna see Dark Hour starting off on the links today, and then Gravity Cat with the Cyclone. We saw Gravity Cat in race 3 and 4, and this will be the first appearance for Dark Hour in this series. But Gravity Cat's got a lot of respect already within this race, getting second place in race number 3 when they did represent, and continuing a great reputation for ground racing. So.
Yep. Next up, I want to move on to the crowd favorite that we'll be seeing once again here today. Premier Corps Colonial, our team all the way from France. We have Amua, Captain Aoden, Engrif, and Luce.
Yeah. And we're going to have Luce starting off with the links, Amur anchoring it down for that final stretch in the Cyclone. But yeah, Aoden, Engrif, both helping out the team here as we work through the entire series, positioning them right now in 7th place with 27 points. So that middle of the pack is going to be really, really tight today. A lot of folks in that 20-ish point range. So we could see a lot of shifting around there between positions, 4, 5, 6. And this is definitely a team that wants to get up there and represent well. So Premier Corps, audience favorite as well, seeing a lot of shout outs there. So glad to have them competing today.
Yeah, their big competition today is they are trying to beat Test Squadron. That's their objective. So we're going to see this big Test Squadron v Premier Corps Colonial fight over the course of the race today. Very, very exciting. And we'll see how they end up. Let's now move to AAWA Drunken Turtle Racing, one of the best named teams on the track today. This team has had a very, very unfortunate start. As it stands, of our races that are rocking up today, they are lowest positioned at 13th place with 9 points. So we're going to be hoping for a big finish from them today. We have Eraser, Kratagos, Ponza, and Alex.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing today from Drunken Turtle, Kratagos is going to be starting off with the links. We've seen Kratagos in races 3, 5, and 6. And then we've got Eraser coming in to anchor it down with a Cyclone at the end. We saw Eraser in races 1 and 4. So great opportunity here. Kratagos was in race 3, had an unfortunate, disappointing DNF there. But they're definitely hungry here. The Drunken Turtles, they're in 9th place with 13 points, but an opportunity to secure themselves, 13th place with 9 points, but an opportunity to secure a little bit of a jump in position for today's event.
Yep, you always want to see if you can get at least a good performance in the final race and, put yourself up even like 5 places here, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of
Next up, we're going to talk
there in the middle of the pack.
Yep. Next up, we're going to talk about Venture Origins. We have the Yodelorian, Isotope, Ghostbuster, and Von Long. And Venture Origins currently sitting at 8th place with 22 points.
Yeah, and we've got the Yodelorian who's going to be starting off with the Lynx and Isotope that's going to be anchoring things down with a Cyclone. They've done well. They're at 8th place with 22 points. And a couple of great opportunities here. Now, overall, I think this team has the best combination of names: the Yodelorian, Isotope, Ghostbusters. We talk about individual names that stand out.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So
they're kind of in 8th place right now.
Mm-hmm.
8th place with some movement. They can move up within that middle of the pack. But again, 69 points away from the 3rd place position. It's not a gap they're going to be able to fill today. So,
yep, exactly. And then we have all but the locked-in team. Team Punch Gnomies. Quilsar, Herbie, Gerbo the Gnome, and Shugo the Lucky One. Currently sitting in 1st place at 127 points, I thought. Insane. Absolutely insane, this team.
Yeah.
They've absolutely crushed it. Multiple back-to-back top threes in the System 7. They've run it back again. Almost impossible for them to not get first place today, but there is a world. There certainly is a world where Amarok's Fang are able to push above against them. And Amarok's Fang are going to be praying for that miracle to happen. Go ahead, Red.
Yeah, there is a 21-point gap between Amarok's Fang and Punch Nomis, and you have to believe Amarok's Fang is hungry for it. Starting off today, we're gonna have Quelsar, who is leading up with the Lynx, and then we've got Herbie coming in with the Cyclone. Ended up, we saw Herbie with some dominant finishes in Race 4, as well as Race 1, and Quelsar we saw back in Race 3 for the earlier appearance. So they're hungry for it. They just need to perform well, finish the race, and as long as they don't have a 21-point deficit to Amarok's Fang, they got this locked in. But it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed for them. So,
yeah. So this is also going to. I want to use this opportunity to also talk about why two drivers is relevant in today's race. As we did already talk about, it is a relay where you do swap your vehicles over at checkpoint 1. For Team Punch Nomis, we have both Herbie and Quelsar driving for today. So they're going to be swapping between each other. Also, you are correct, Red, in our chat. I did miss a team. We'll get to them in just a second because I do actually want to talk about them a lot. But yeah, a lot of these teams that are teams of 4, the second player will do a changeover. What that's going to mean is going to mean a little bit faster in order for you to do the swap over, so you don't have to fully get out of a vehicle, fully get into another vehicle. You're not losing like 30 seconds to a minute doing that, but it also means a lot less fatigue on our races as well.
Yeah, and that's also some of the benefit. You've got other support that can help make these races happen. But this has been one we've called out throughout the entire series. Sanji Sama from Kuroda Racing, who is the sole eraser for Kuroda Racing here, and we've seen some great opportunities, some great performances from Sanji, but also some really heartbreaking eliminations. I think on the Cloud Chasers platform, watching that Drake Mule in the middle of nowhere, hitting one of those lampposts and doing a forward gainer right off of the platform. I think one of my favorite highlights from the event. So, yeah, that's let's go ahead and see what Sanji's got for us.
Yeah, so Sanji, our only solo racer today on mouse and keyboard from Iceland. Honestly, a legend within the racing community, and still very, very cool to see them run it back and back and back it again over here in the System 7 for Atmo. So currently sitting at, I believe, 9th place with 21 points. They are also pushing to get ahead of 6th. We have a couple of these teams, about 5 teams, that are looking to get above the 28-point mark and sort of push against this back of the pack races that we're going to be seeing today. So good luck, Sanji. We wish you well. All right. We're going to go to a couple of minutes of ads. We'll be back very, very soon with some views of our races. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're only going to be gone for a couple of minutes. Get excited. It is System 7 Finals, the last race. See you in a sec.
Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there.
And we are back for the System 7 finals here over in Pyro 5 at Volcano Bay. I am joined in the commentary booth with Red Monster SC. How you doing?
Yeah. Doing good. Glad to see the racers up on the starting line. It looks like they're pretty close to getting ready for that call out. And yeah, this is going to be a very great start. It looks like we're on the dark side right now, but we got about an hour and a half of this track. The RSI links proceeding up to checkpoint 1, and then switching over to the Tumble Cyclone, and hopefully get some great views across this here. Pyro 5, Pharaoh moon orbiting there. This is just such a beautiful location within the Pyro system. 6 natural moons, and then it's captured Pyro 4 in that little mini system. There's so many locations. It's hard to pick a great location for a racetrack, but they've really nailed it here with this Volcano Lake. So
They certainly have. And I do have to say, just in general, because kind of the last chance we get to say this System 7, really hoping all these new weather effects and stuff that we're seeing on the PTU, all this rain and whatnot, somehow come into play in future System 7s and future races like this. Because it'll certainly be something very, very cool to behold. Now, that was the last links lining up there. So it should be any moment now before we start getting a countdown. Like Red said, this is going to be an hour and a half race, possibly longer, depending on exactly how safe some of our racers take it, because it is going to be a very, very treacherous race. All of these little lake sections, even the little puddles, can get very, very deep very quickly. And if you have ever driven a ground vehicle in StarCitizen remotely close to water, you know how dangerous it can be.
yeah, definitely. And again, we saw with some of the previous races, the speed combining with turning these vehicles over, rolling into other terrain, and I think for the first 20-30 seconds here, as these racers try and vie for position, we'll see some inversions, some collisions and stuff. But yeah, I see a couple of different paints out there as well, folks trying to represent and maybe fashion max just a little bit.
Yeah, which I certainly appreciate. I do have to say, and I've mentioned this before, I am a little disappointed that we don't have access to the new Grey Cat buggy, as it's certainly suited for this kind of race. I can't wait to see that next year. It kind of feels like a Lynx with like a little bit better handling, right? So certainly a vehicle for the racers out there. So who knows? This may be one of the last chances we get to see the Lynx, although realistically, not really. Everyone, like, why would you race with better maneuverability when instead you can, have a champagne out the back, get real
Right.
comfortable, get in your luxury villa.
There's something to be said about riding in style, right? It might not be the fastest, but it sure looks good. So,
Exactly. So this is going to be the actually final race. Remember, we have our top three at the moment, relatively solidified. Miracle happening, we could see some changes. So we have Team Nomies in
Team
first
Punch
place.
Nomies.
I was gonna say Team Gerbies again. Team Punch Nomies in first place. We have Amarok's Fang in second and Delta Dietus in third. They are all vying for essentially their respective next position. All teams need is kind of a miracle there, except for Team Nomies, who all they really have to do is just finish. If Nomies are able to finish the race, they should essentially solidify themselves as first place finish. That's what we're going to be looking
Yeah.
for today.
Now,
As this is not a lap race as well, there is no extra point up for grabs.
yeah. And now, like you said, the top three pretty much mathematically locked in. Amarok's Fang does have an opportunity to upset, but they would need Punch Nomies
Yep.
to DNF out and take
Mhm.
first place. That's a 21 point gap. Now,
Yeah.
Delta Dietus, they could be the upset to get into second place and knock Amarok's Fang down a position. And we may see a lot of opportunity for movement, at least in that second place position. But yeah, we'll see how Punch Nomies is able to survive. And that's really all they have to do is survive. But do you really think they're going to settle for that? Or are they going to push it?
I mean, you kind of have to push it. If you've already solidified yourselves in the top three, just go for it at this stage, right? You got to kind of have to. Even like Nomies, they just want to prove that they can get progressively more and more points each year.
Yeah. And honestly, solidifying themselves, automatically qualifying for next year, one of the great opportunities they're looking at. And all three of these teams have basically got it locked in. So,
Yeah. Now we're just getting rid of apparently a rogue Lynx that was on the track without its driver has been eliminated. But we are in our 5-minute countdown, so we are in the final stages of the race getting underway. And while we're sitting here, it's prediction time. Who do we think out there in the land? Who's going to win this particular race? Who do you think is going to beat this sort of this back end race that we were talking about with a lot of our other races around that 20-point mark? Who's going to be our sort of winner of our the other half of our races today? Do we think that we will see Delta Dietus push into second place today? It's kind of all up for grabs. Where are you at, Red? What do you think? Give me two predictions about today's race.
all right. So, top three prediction. I do think Punch Nomies is sticking it out, but I want to see a battle between Amarok's Fang and Delta Dietus. I think mathematically it would be a great upset and some great television to see Delta Dietus take the second place position. Now, for that mid range, I do think Test Squadron, they've got a great opportunity to represent. But I see somebody from the back of the pack trying to make up some points, maybe getting a top 4 finish, pushing them ahead. So I'm going to say Test Squadrons and then Kuroda Racing, because Sanji representing Solo, I think has a great opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, I think it's incredibly unlikely for Nomies not to win today. It's a true miracle that would have to happen. So I do agree. I think Delta Dietus. I would like to see Delta Dietus get the push into second, but I also think we might just see a solidified top 3 today. That's my first prediction. But everyone's going to be going for it, obviously. Now, what I want to see in terms of our back section here of people around the 20-point mark, I really, really want to see AAW Drunken Turtle Racing just win today's race, get the 25 points, move to 34, and just push themselves all the way up there. Like I've said, they haven't really had a chance. They've lost a lot of chances that they've had to sort of prove themselves this season, and this is the last one that they can do. And I'm really, really hoping it works for them.
Yeah. And now we're coming up on about 2 minutes to the race start. But what I want to call out here, there's a lot of folks watching from home, a lot of folks with your favorite teams out there, maybe organizations you've helped represent or had interactions with. Let's hear who your favorites are out there. Drop them in chat and let us know your predictions. Another thing here, Croncy, we're in the middle of the summer here in the States. We got a lot of groups at their Bar Citizen meetups that might be watching from a group meetup, doing that type of activity. So, want to see
Grabbing
if you
the
guys
phone
are
out
out
in the
there
middle of the Bar
representing.
Citizen and just
Yeah.
double checking. Wait, where is everyone positioned?
Right. I know my local chapter, the Utah Bar Citizens, they have a meetup here that's going to be starting just about the end of the time that this race goes. But if you guys are watching from a Bar Citizen, a great way to maybe share some of this excitement for the System 7 finals and watching these ground vehicles really represent.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. 1 minute left. Let's get some final hype in all of the chats, whether you're watching on Twitch, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, MySpace, wherever you're exactly watching it. Make sure you give all your hype and all your energy towards your favorite racer so that they can cross the finish line. And hopefully, I mean, I deliberately did not do any predictions about any explosions or anything because all 8 of our races are crossing the finish line. All right? That's a command.
Curse them
That's
like
what's
that.
happening, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, God, they all
Love to
blew
see
up
those
before the
top 8.
countdown started. All right, and
just
speaking
waiting
of
on
the
this final countdown.
Yep. And here we go. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And we are off those racing teams. You see one already a little bit behind, slowing things down just to let the pack settle out. But they are, it looks like, pretty competitive to start. Handling looks good on these vehicles. And here's our first look. We see the Midnight Bard, Dark Hour, Checked Leak, Luce, a couple of folks in the middle of the pack there. Kratagos, the Yodelorian, Sanji-sama. They're getting tangled up. Kratagos looks like he's got turned around.
I look, if you were to ask me which race this season would not have a racer-to-racer collision, I would have said this one. And just then we saw a little bit of a collision there between Yodelorian and another racer. But it's okay. These vehicles can take a lot more of a beating than some of our other ones can. Now, remember, this is an hour-and-a-half long race, guys. So there's going to be a lot of developments happening over the course of this. Routes are going to change very, very drastically. And people, I hope, they're going to be taking it just a little bit slower and a little bit more careful around these lakes, which right now I can see Midnight Bard going maybe a little bit too close to this lake off to the side. That's really, really concerning. I am scared if they get like within 10 meters of a puddle at this point.
Yeah, and we see the Midnight Bard, and I believe Renee is riding alongside as co-pilot there for Spotter. That is, I believe, permitted. They're going to do the exchange at checkpoint 1, but that's literally halfway through. They got about 45 minutes till they get there. But it does look like Test Squadron is first in the current lead, moving up the left side, getting some elevation there.
They certainly are. Obviously, they're going to lose a ton of time doing that. As we can see, there's other groups going a lot wider around the side. So Dark Hour there in the front, followed by Sanji-sama. Once again, just trying to likely keep away from the water, but they may end up themselves essentially just finding themselves just a flat section. You know, you just want to try to avoid as many of these little hills and those little mountains as possible.
Yeah, I'm getting a look here at which teams are running. Doing well. We see Dark Hour from Amarok's Fang. Sanji-sama from Kuroda Racing. Kratagos from Drunken Turtle Racing. The Yodelorian from Venture Origins. Luce from Premier Corps Colonial. And of course, Officer Rondog, Esper in Space, some of our security escort folks. Camera operators, and here getting a great view delivered from Deadly Donor.
Now, notably, two of our faster teams this season, Delta Ditus and Team Punch Nomis, right at the back of the pack. Now, our camera was a little bit earlier pointing towards the back, and you could see that there was at least 2 sets of lights, which I imagine are those 2 teams, and they were going very wide. They were very, very far away from the water here. Maybe they know something that some of the other races don't. Maybe they're just trying to keep it a little bit safer. Like we said, unless Punch Nomis essentially DNF, it's unlikely that they will lose the top spot today. But you know, there's still a world.
Yeah, and it's still competitive within that top three, like we said, and there is
Yeah.
bragging rights still up for grabs in the middle there. So you've got to believe these teams are still out there, hungry for it, wanting to represent well as they move through this final race.
I'll definitely go. Here we go. We get another look here at a couple of these teams up towards the front, but in the close to the water section. We're looking at Dark Hour, I believe, right now on the right side there in the slightly blue links as they are right on top of each other. And this is going to essentially happen for realistically the first like 20 to 30 minutes of the race before we see a little bit of some bigger gaps form, especially when we get to checkpoint 1. Once we do swap over to the Cyclone, there will likely be quite a big difference in gaps between those that are racing themselves and those that have a team member sitting on the other side.
Yeah, and we, the ones who are prepared to handle this exchange, that could save you a minute or two if you're able to do a quick exchange there. If there's any difficulties with the vehicle, you got to watch out for it. And yeah, we see the handling of these vehicles as they come up over that terrain and nose diving slightly, trying to keep speed, but also maintain control of the vehicle as it works its way through.
Now, if you have not been to a System 7 before, you may notice that some of these vehicles drive straight through some rocks. That is just classic a System 7 right there. Honestly, that fall is not going to punish them too much. They're going to be able to recover here, but they are going to lose that position.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these
We did see
rocks
those.
aren't actually there. They are just visual bugs. So not to be worried. I imagine if you do see any of our races just plow through one, it's likely part of their route, and they've already plotted out which ones are real and which ones aren't.
And we do see here, Kuroda looks like they're in front. Sanji-sama doing well there. Trying to
You
continue
also see
that.
the Yodelorian very, very out wide, but roughly the same sort of distance as they have a little collision the second I start talking about them in classic fashion. Yeah, as they come around. And I do see, there we go. So Quelsar in the back there, Czech League just in front. So we do have those other two teams from our top three still roughly on top of each other, but much further back. So maybe they didn't know anything that the other teams didn't know. Maybe just going for a little bit of a wider route just to make sure that they don't collide with any puddles at all. But they're going to move back in, and now we just kind of have almost everyone on a line now.
Yeah, the Yodelorian out beyond the pack. And as we saw, Quelsar at the back for Team Punch Nomies. I think probably running more conservative since they are in the lead. They can give up some position here, but taking it more conservative, ensuring their survival through this to lock things down. Make sure that there's a 21-point gap for Amarok's Fang. Amarok's Fang is up in the lead, so you got to believe they're playing this strategically in order to make sure they maintain as many points as possible. Keep that point differential. And we see Sanji-sama up quite far ahead. Dark Hour from Amarok's Fang just behind. So yeah, some good representation there.
Yeah, we're coming into this big left turn now around the lake for our first sort of. While it's not a checkpointed section, it's kind of like our first little checkpoint, our first little area of the race so far, and it's still everyone's right on top of each other. We're about 7.5 minutes in, only a little bit of difference between our first few competitors, and there you can see. So we're pretty much right at the bottom there around that curve. We've got a big straightaway coming for the next probably about 15-20 minutes or so before we turn left back again towards checkpoint 1.
Yeah. They are continuing to battle it out. We see the Midnight Bard, Renee. I believe Renee may actually be racing the first segment, bringing the Midnight Bard along. It's hard to tell with them both riding up in a pilot and co-pilot there.
One of them's on the wheel, one of them's on the accelerator.
Yeah. Kratagos with Drunken Total Racing. Yeah, it would be completely like Test Squadron to be a couple of kobolds in a trench coat. Kratagos from Drunken Turtle coming up right behind them. We see Sanji-sama, Dark Hour up ahead a few hundred meters, about 600. And yeah, not the most comfortable lead at this point, but still maintaining. If you get turned around sideways, you could lose that pretty quickly. I'm sure they're being as conservative as possible. Venture Origins, the Yodalorian coming up at the rear. Team Punch Nomies in 7th. Delta Diatus. We'll see check leak there for Delta Diatus. Premier Core. We've got Luce, Drunken Turtle Test, Amarok's Fang, Garuda leading up the top 4.
Now, more than anything, today is an endurance race. And I think you can sort of tell who from these teams has certainly had a lot more experience with things like the DMR Rally, with the previous System 7 hour-long races. As we can see, like I said, Sanji Sama currently right ahead right now and is an absolute veteran of that style of racing.
Yeah, and we see Quelsar near the back. Luce, check leak.
DeLorean has caught up.
Yeah, the racers are going to want to watch out for Dark Hour with Amarok's Fang, check leak, and Quelsar. See how they're able to manage.
Yeah, all
Sanji
this
really
part of
with
the
the lead.
race. Yeah, this entire part of the race really isn't going to be about the sort of like macro route that you may have planned. It's just going to be about how you handle a lot of these small little bumps. This vehicle is not particularly well known for wanting to stay in a straight line. If you've ever taken it out for a test drive, it does like to drift around a lot. We are in a lower gravity as well, so as you just saw then, you do have these little jumps can send you every which way. So it's all about planning your small little hills and all your turns here.
Yeah. And you see the suspension on these wheels has a tendency to be a little bit bouncy. So if you get into a section where you get maybe a complicated rhythm, a couple of low points and high points, it could turn you sideways. We've seen some racers already get flipped around entirely, maybe even multiple times. Managing this terrain is going to be that real key skill that's going to separate folks.
Yep, definitely. Now, already we are seeing a little bit of a separation between some of our races here, just in this little section, as we were essentially right in a line there. But you can see Sanji Sama way off to the right here. Officer Dark Hour being filmed by Officer Rondok, much closer to the water in that section there. Now, Sanji Sama, a little bit of problems here, just with a couple of collisions and a couple of spin outs that is allowing Renee and Midnight Bard from Test Squadron in order to push up a little bit further up. Followed by Checkleak, Kratagos, Luce, Quelsar, and right in the back there, Yodalorian.
Yeah, we saw headlights from Sanji Sama getting flipped around a little bit. Looks like a slight turnaround. Taking a little bit more of a track to the right compared to others. Going left, there's this hillside here that may cause a little bit of an obstruction. This might be Sanji just understanding the track a little bit better, or going for it, just trying to be a little bit of the path less traveled, seeing if that could be a difference maker here. And maneuvering around that rock, I have verified that is not actually a mineable deposit, so no concerns there.
It would be very interesting if there was like quantanium deposits that are already unstable, and it kind of works like mines. You accidentally drive a little bit too close to it, boom, rip you.
Yeah. There we see, we've gotten some great views of these jumps. Oh, there's Officer Ron Dog watching as just a slight burnout, recovering, keeping the nose pointed in the right direction for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Looking off on the horizon there over this Volcano Lake track. And you mentioned
one problem.
The vehicles. Oh, go ahead.
One problem I have with this racetrack is where's the volcano? I don't like. I see a big hill. I don't see an exploding volcano. I do see a racer flipping themselves over right now, which is Sanji Sama. Luckily, the vehicle should ride itself. Yep.
Yeah, but that's going to be costly. Sanji had a decent lead up ahead of Amarok's Fang with Dark Hour there, but yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. Getting righted now finally.
One of the advantages that the Lynx can have over some of our other ground vehicles is some ground vehicles no longer have the auto righting sort of tech that exists, has existed in the past in StarCitizen. But the Rover one, it's uneven on the top, so it tends to sort of flip one way or the other, and then your wheels can sort of do the rest. Otherwise, if you are in any other type of rover, you can also use the turret. You can activate the turret, and it'll flip you over, kind of like a just a stick that like pushes you to the side.
Yeah. And that's I will say I'm disappointed that the Grey Cat Rock did not make it into the racing vehicles this time. With that boom arm in the front, I've been able to use that to right myself several times, as well as even almost like a tractor arm, lifting myself up onto platforms and such so that I might not be able to normally drive over. And those lasers,
yeah.
slightly lethal, slightly lethal.
Yes. We have used the RSE in the past. In fact, we have used it for race number 7 in the past. And it is a lot of fun. It is surprisingly speedy for the vehicle that it is. And it can be a lot of fun to drive. So maybe we'll see it come back in the future. But we're getting a little bit spoiled recently. We're getting so many new racing vehicles, so many new Gravlevs, so many new ground vehicles that using anything but a racing vehicle kind of feels a little weird now. But I still long for a System 7 where we're all driving tonks.
Yes. We're watching Checked Leak here from Delta Diatus, currently in 5th place for today's race, but 3rd place, trying to play the upset for Amrock's Fang. Amrock's Fang, Dark Hour up at the top here, 2nd place, just behind Sanji Sama.
Yep. So Sanji's still, even with like all those collisions from earlier, still being able to stay pretty far ahead of our competitors. Now, once again, you can see both Luce and Quelsar, it looks like at the moment. There's a couple of our other teams looking like they're going a lot further east, a lot further wide than some of our other competitors are to the lake itself. And here we go. We can see with this overlay of the racetrack over the top. Yeah, there's obviously something about this terrain that they have chosen to push out that far. I imagine it's likely just flatter, and you can even see a little bit that may be the case a little bit further up. If you look at this perspective, kind of where the next set of arrows are in front of our competitors, that may be the flatter section. So
yeah,
we'll have to have a look at
And
that
a
soon,
section
and it's
off
going to
here.
develop in the next few minutes.
Yeah, a section off here, kind of as they go a little bit north of the track. They are coming in a little close. They may have to double back a little bit to the right rather than heading direct left. We might see some potential that they may be cutting the track short, and they need to align that properly.
I will say, at the very least, I think it mostly just appears to be our cameras that are off to the side there. In terms of our actual
Yeah.
races, they somewhat appear to be
There we are.
sticking to the lines. And is that a okay? I think I saw a thing there.
That looked like an Idris laser, maybe? Was that?
I don't know. I don't know what I saw.
That beam weapon on the Idris is pretty aggressive. So
It's very cool. It's very cool. Unfortunately, you can't race with a laser beam.
there we see Checked Leak, who is currently again Delta Diatus Racing. They moved up to 4th place, passing up Kratagos from Drunken Turtle. So representing well. Sanji Sama about 1.5 kilometers ahead. Midnight Bard off to the right.
Yeah, I think from what I could tell, it looks like likely Midnight Bard and Renee are actually ahead of Sanji Sama now. Based on the distance from Czech League here. Yeah, there you go. A few hundred meters ahead of Sanji Sama at this point. So you can see right here, that was a much, much flatter section off to the right there, which is what I imagine a lot of our teams that were behind are going to be following along now. So Sanji Sama taking the riskier route, still pretty, like in a pretty good spot, but has now lost the lead at the 17, almost 18-minute mark.
Yeah. And Sanji Sama, the Midnight Bard, Renee, obviously hungry for that middle of the line. But Dark Hour looks like 3rd place right now, trying to play the upset from Team Amarok's Fang. Might be in an okay position, but they really do need to get a 1st place to have any chance at this.
They do indeed. And I have to say one thing, Red. Not to jinx it. All 8 of our races are still on the field.
Yeah, pretty good handling so far on the vehicles, and the speed limitations here. We're talking mid 30 meters or mid 30-ish meters per second for these vehicles, both the Lynx
Mhm.
and the Cyclone. So not as much of those explosive collisions as we might have seen with the ground vehicles, the Nox, the Dragonfly. A lot more sustainable, a lot more controllable, especially be able to recover from some of these in a non-lethal way. You keep those wheels on the ground, even if you do get spun around sideways, you're not going to have much of a damage problem with these vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. So here we go. Quelsa now pushing ahead as well, a little bit further, fighting here Czech League and Dark Hour for their respective positions. So we've seen also a much bigger group has condensed a little bit here in the last few minutes.
Yeah. Czech League representing Delta Diatis. And we'll see. There was Dark Hour from Amarok's Fang, Sanji up ahead, the Midnight Bard. Got to think that we're going to see some real push from Team Punch Nomies. Now we're 20 minutes into the race, about halfway through to checkpoint 1 before they make that turn. I do
Mhm.
see Quelsar taking the right side again. You talk about the elevation on the
Yep.
left, coming in a little closer towards camera here, but Quelsar going sideways, and you see right there a vehicle flipping over. If you have more than one or two of those, you can give up a lead pretty quickly.
Yep. And once again, this just goes to say this well, excuse me. This much flatter section that some of our races have been taking off to the right side. Luce also taking that same second there. Has just been able to push them quite far ahead. Quelsar was essentially right on top of Czech League moments ago, but Czech League and Dark Hour taking the little hillier section in on the tighter side. Meanwhile, Quelsar was just able to gain so much speed and just able to
Mhm.
maintain it for enough time in order to push them, if not ahead of them, pretty much right on top of them.
Yeah, moving up to at least 5th place according to the scoreboard here. Now 4th place as Delta Diatis gets moved down. So great views they deliver here. Czech League and Quelsar. Quelsar taking over Czech League right at the side. Dark Hour on the closer side from Amarok's Fang.
Now, if we could have a look once again at our first few positions right now, because it does look like Test Squadron currently in the lead with Midnight Bard and Renee and Kuroda Racing, which is Sanju Sama, in second. If we have views of that, there we go. So yeah, Sanju Sama has regained a little bit of that distance, but still behind Team Test Squadron at the moment. So Renee and Midnight Bard. I mean, this was one of the things we wanted to see, right? We wanted to see if Test Squadron could
Yeah.
prove themselves this season. They have performed really well. They've just had a lot of unfortunate finishes, a lot of unfortunate DNFs. So if we can see them win this race, I will be very, very happy.
Yeah, and they've got almost a full kilometer ahead of Sanji. 2.5 kilometers ahead of Quelsar, Czech League. The rest of the pack, really. Dark Hour, we see on the left side, and now closer towards camera, with a little bit more terrain to contend against. So Dark Hour might be trying to cut the corner inside, but that could end up costing a little bit. We see Sanji Sama up to the left, and we're going to see a little further left of that, further ahead is our Test Squadron group, Renee with the Midnight Bard.
Yes, indeed. And you can see just how far behind the Yodalorian is now, about 6 kilometers behind our current leader. So now we're starting to see these distances get aggressively large as our competitors come through. Czechlik and Krolsar having a big fight there over in the left. Kretagos and
Yeah.
Luce similarly having a fight there in our little back section.
Yeah, and seeing some separation between the groups. But yeah, Czech League, Quelsar, you got to believe they are absolutely pacing each other. That's Punch Nomies and Delta Diatis, teams 1 and 3. Just managing right now to maintain, stay in the race. Nobody wants a DNF here because the point differentials is really what's going to be the big struggle here.
Yep. So yeah, here we go. A closer in view of Cheklik and Qualsar fighting for position here in the rover section of today's race. Remember, this is a relay race. Once we get to checkpoint number 1, we're going to be swapping over into the Cyclone, which you can see most of our races here on the right side, about a third of the way through the race, a little less than a third, maybe. It's going to be a very, very long one, guys, today. What I am really, really scared about, excited but scared about, is when we get to that bridge section and we see that Polaris. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about what will happen. We'll have to see.
It's a wild card, right? And you hope things go smoothly, but understanding the alpha nature of StarCitizen, we're in the early access, and that means early features, aka bugs. So hopefully teams will be able to manage that properly. Here we see the Midnight Bard and Sanji Sama, our first and second place teams in today's race. Midnight Bard, Renee with Test Squadron. Test Squadron, who's currently in 6th place, and Kuroda at 9th place. Only a couple of points separate them. Test Squadron at 28, Kuroda at 21. So hoping to get some good positioning. A first and a second place finish there would be about that 7-point differential. So they definitely battling it out for next spot up. And representing really well today. The sportsmanship from these teams, even though they're mathematically eliminated from the top 3, still out there doing it for the pride, doing it to represent your org. And that's part of the benefits here. I mean, with the System 7, as many races as you've got, and these teams that are just battling it out throughout the entire series, through the early access craziness, and still maintaining to complete all 7 races. And represent their groups well. Just bouncing over the terrain here. Love to see it.
Now, as we've hit the 25-minute mark, we can see that our races actually moved back towards the water now, as the shoreline looks like it's also gotten a lot more flat in this section. So you can see up there a little bit further, Midnight Bard and Sanji Sama, that's where they are. Quelsar right now stuck in a little bit of a problem there. There was a very, very rocky terrain. So Check Leak has now zoomed ahead of Quelsar. So they were in a big fight a little bit earlier, but Quelsar has now lost a big portion of that. He's going to have to try to crawl it back in order to push ahead through once again. But once again, this team Punch Nomis, the Quelsar is a part of, pretty solidly in first place as long as they finish today. So right now, they're just looking to solidify themselves and get some sort of extra rep for next season.
Yeah, and again, in the power position as far as the overall points leader, the only one that can really contend here is Amarok's Fang, and they're doing their best at 3rd position right now. But Punch Nomis and Delta Dietis right behind them. So the top 3 for the overall leaderboard, battling it out between positions 3, 4, and 5. That point spread looks like it's only about 5 points. 3rd place is going to land 15, 4th place will land 12, and 5th place will land 10. So if they maintain this positioning, our top 3 is really what it's locked into up to this point. We won't see much of a shift, but there's still a lot of race ahead of us. We're only 26 minutes in. At about the 45-minute mark, we will hit that checkpoint 1 and switch drivers, and we'll see that strategy change up potentially when we get those new racers in. And coming up for that, those new racers, we're going to have the Midnight Bard taking over for Test Squadron, Sanji Sama continuing from Kuroda Racing, Gravity Cat's going to be taking on for Amarok's Fang. We're going to see Herbie from Team Punch Nomis. We've seen some great performance from Herbie. Check Leak is going to continue for Delta Dietis, and we're going to switch. Drunken Turtle is going to have Karadogos switched out to Eraser. Premier Core Colonial is going to see Amur, and Venture Origins is going to see Isotope take over. So
I'm glad you brought over the takeovers that we'll be seeing in about 15-20 minutes from now, because Sanji Sama and Test Squadron and Kuroda Racing right on top of each other right now, but because Sanji Sama will be running it back, right? Yes.
Yeah,
of course. It is our solo racer. Because Sanji Sama will be running it back, we talked before about like you having to actually physically get out of the vehicle and swap into the other vehicle is going to cost you a ton of time, right? So Sanji Sama likely that distance is likely to extend a little bit further. So going to have to try to push ahead of Test Squadron here a little bit more before you hit that checkpoint.
Yeah, and to be clear, there is a procedure for that vehicle handoff. It's not
Mhm.
just that as soon as one vehicle pulls up, the other vehicle takes off. You do actually have to get out and tag virtually the next racer. So there is a bit of a handoff that's going to happen. The teams who
Mhm.
do that quickly shouldn't be too much of a problem, but you are having to exit the vehicle and have the other racer enter the vehicle after that exchange.
Yes, exactly.
See these packs really separate themselves. We see the Yodelorian in the back there off to the far left. We see the Midnight Bard and Renee up there. Oh,
Whoop.
Sanji getting turned around.
Another another
Yeah.
little flip here in this little divot, if you will, and looking like struggling to actually push themselves back off to the side, flashing their lights, just pressing every button on the keyboard.
Oh man,
I think they
I've
should
seen
be able
this
to
with
right themselves here, but
turtles.
they're losing a ton of time.
Here you see the turret being activated,
Yep.
rotating there underneath the vehicle to try and get it to right itself.
And yep, we're gonna flip over here, but
And there he
that was
goes.
a solid like 30 seconds at least that they lost there, I
Yeah.
think. So very, very rough for them.
And now it looks like Sanji, yeah, is behind the Midnight Bard and Renee, so getting lined up right there. That was, as you mentioned, using that remote turret, those guns to help right yourself up, and almost immediately doing another another gainer at the end.
Now, interestingly enough, while Test Squadron are in front of them, they're not as far as I would have expected after that flip over. So there may have also been a problem for that team when they got ahead there. So maybe not the end of the world there for Sanji Sama if both of the teams were able to flip, and we'll see if they're able to catch back up.
Yeah, and just the separation right now, a couple 100 meters, but as we saw Sanji get turned over, losing a little bit of ground, the same thing can happen with Test
Mhm.
Squadron, but they've got to be feeling really, really good about where they're positioned right now. Test Squadron, 6th place with 28 points. They can really represent well and take up, I believe they've got an opportunity up to about 5th place
Mhm.
with positioning, maybe locking in with 6th, but really depending on how the rest of the teams line it out.
So there we
See
go.
those
Coming down
headlights
this
flipping
slope,
around from
Sanji Sama still
Sanji.
having a little bit of problems, but able to get through. Meanwhile, Dark Hour has closed the gap quite significantly and is going to be fighting Czech League here any moment for this position. And not too far
Quelsar
behind
right
Dark
behind.
Hour is Quelsar. So we've actually got this big little fight here for second place pretty soon.
Yeah, Czech League, Dark Hour, Quelsar, Delta Diatus, Amrox Fang, and Punch Nomis. In reverse order right now from the overall leaderboard. Uh, Delta Diatus currently 3rd place overall, 3rd place in today's race. 2nd place with Amrox Fang in 4th position. And 1st place, Punch Nomis in 5th position. So they've got to feel really good about the positioning. It's going to lock them into that that overall scoreboard standing. And yeah, you definitely want to have an eye on where the rest of this field is doing, especially if I'm Quelsar watching them go.
Mhm.
You are in the driver's seat as far as the overall standings, and just finish the race with a solid performance. That's all you got to do.
Certainly cool to see 32 minutes in us have this fight of only a few 100 meters, right, between a couple of these races. It certainly goes to show just how much these guys have practiced this track and figured out their major routes to get themselves on top of each other. So excited to see where this leads at the moment. No clear, definitive eraser here out of these three that is pushing it any much further. So possibly waiting for a collision to happen. Although Quelsar looks like they're going out a little bit wide around this hill before they make their way through. And we can see Sanji Sama up there, possibly a couple 100 meters behind Midnight Bard and Renee.
Yeah, and Test Squadron's got to feel great about their positioning right now. They're rounding this corner, coming up kind of on that next leg towards checkpoint 1. Sanji Sama in the middle, but yeah, that field with Czech League, Dark Hour, Quelsar, and we got Kratigos and Luce, both competitive there. And in the back there, we saw the Yodelorian from Venture Origins, still not even 5 kilometers off, so still very, very close, with some time to make up. And about a third of the way into this race, seeing all teams really keeping keeping that gap to a minimum.
Yep. So yeah, here we are with the view of Test Squadron, our current leaders, as they make their way back down this hill, where once again they have chosen to go over the hill rather than around it. And so far, looking okay for them. They're not punishing them far too much here. And you can see, look ahead of them, how flat that next section is. So we're going to be absolutely gunning it here.
Yeah, and getting a little acrobatic on some of these hillsides, making sure to get a line. Moving around some of the larger rocks, we see them drive through the smaller stuff. These don't have actual physical collision on some of this terrain, but you can definitely believe there's teams out there who have made that mistake, tried to drive right through something, and ended up head first into a fixed object.
Red Monster SC, let me take you back to the first ever System 7. There was a racetrack. Oh, nice little flip there. Nice little bit of acrobatics. There was a race, one of my favorite races of all time, called Tundra Dash over on Microtech. It was extremely interesting in terms of rocks that did not exist. As about half the race, the first half of the race, the vast majority of the rocks just weren't there. They actually were not there. Then the second half, they decided to be there. So you would do this race, you would absolutely gun it for the first half, just going through every single rock. And then at one certain point, you slow way down. And then you're trying to avoid every single rock, which is really interesting. Now, yeah, we did just see there. I imagine that was Sanji-sama catching up to Test Squadron, flipping over at pretty much the exact same spot, but like in a much, much better landing.
Yeah, the Test Squadron folks, taking a little bit of time to right themselves. We saw them activating that laser turret and even deploying on the side versus the top, trying to really position that properly. Sanji nearly inverting almost as badly, but having a better recovery overall.
Yeah, so a lot more of distance has been caught up there now between Team Corona Racing and Test Squadron, as they are going to start approaching the checkpoint pretty soon. We're going to be seeing the changeover very, very soon.
And Sanji going to the right there. We see the Midnight Bard going left. Choosing different paths to get around here, maybe some vertical. We see Sanji just kind of flipping across on his back and manages to recover.
Doing a little stand. And we're back off into it. So yeah, we've got a big fight here for first and second place. If we can move back to look at Delta Dietis, Amarok's Fang, and Punch Nomis, if we have views of that, I would love to see that, because there was a huge fight for those three positions a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and they were right on top of each other, just like we see Test Squadron and Corona Racing. So Dark Hour.
There we go. So we can see Checked Leak and Dark Hour. Do we see Quelsar anywhere around? Certainly not this close to the lake. We don't see them. So Checked Leak having a little bit of problems coming out of this this little jump here. But also both of these teams very close to the water.
Yeah, the Yodelorian about, we call it about 3 kilometers behind, or 4 kilometers ish. No eyes on Quelsar right now to see where they've lined up. There we are.
Oh, there we go. So just a little bit to the left of where we were looking. So yeah, still a big fight here between these three races. Just taking very, very small changes in their route. So we're going to keep essentially watching this fight for a little while until we see them hit the checkpoint. Will the Cyclone races be the difference is the question.
Yeah, and we're going to see that switch over. We got the Midnight Bard, Sanji-sama, Checked Leak, Gravity Cat, Herbie, Eraser, Amur, Isotope. All of them are just gearing up, ready for that Cyclone, except, of course, Checked Leak and Sanji are going to be continuing from the links portion.
Yep.
And yeah, looking at that field, how far right Quelsar has gone at this point, avoiding a lot of that terrain. And yeah, the small choices there between fighting difficult terrain versus a little bit more wide open space.
Not just that, but you can sort of see that the Volcano Lake itself turns a little bit more right here in front of where Checked Lake is. So Quelsar going out wide here essentially just means that they can go pretty much like straight from here. So they are ahead of Dark Hour. They will push ahead of Checked Lake here in a moment. and then make their way around. So this is Quasar's big attack on this wide.
Yeah. And we see about 20 kilometers out there. That looks like the cluster of vehicles for the checkpoint 1 interchange point. So we're closing in up 38 minutes into the race. Still about 20 kilometers away. We see Premier Corps, Luce, Kratagos. I believe the Yodalorian is pretty close in that group of 3.
Yeah, we seem to have a rear group forming as well. So 3 major groups here at the moment. So we've got Corona Racing and Test Squadron pretty much on top of each other. Right this second, we are watching Checkly, Quasar, and Dark Hour from Delta Dietis, Amarok Spank, and Punch Nomies. They are fighting each other in this little group. And then, about 5 kilometers behind them, we have another group of AAWA Drunken Turtle Racing, Premier Corps Colonial, and Venture Origins.
And there, Kratagos, Luce, the Yodalorian, a little bit of separation, but with the terrain we've seen, that can be closed pretty quickly. So let's hear it in chat. Who are you guys rooting for? Any positions here that have surprised you guys? Let us know who you think has been outperforming and who you think really needs to dial it up.
We are back at the front watching Corona Racing and Test Squadron on top of each other. Sanji Sama going through a lot more of a rocky section here. So this is going to be good for Test Squadron to get that little bit further ahead. But there was at least a moment where Corona Racing were in first place position again. So these fights have been very, very close in between these groups. It's going to be a while before the second group with Delta, Amarox, and Punch Nomies are able to actually get up to this position. But I think, once we get to the swapping of vehicles, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to compress all the teams once again. Everyone's going to be a lot closer together just because of the amount of time that it is going to take for everyone to swap over their vehicles. And it may end up with a couple of changes in position as we go through some magical, not real rocks.
Now, I feel like there's some danger there. These do look like they're large enough to provide some actual collision. You saw Sanji maneuvering around them and maybe accidentally clipping it a little bit. Now, that could be desync on our side, what our view looks like versus what Sanji sees. But as well, if that desync allows you into a rock but doesn't allow you out, that will be the end of your day. We see the Midnight Bard and Test Squadron. They're really getting out onto this island here. And they've got to make sure
I
they're
am
maneuvering
very
properly.
concerned. All right. They came back in. That was really concerning. So there was a big section of island there that just, it's all water. It's just all water. Luckily, they've turned themselves back inland and getting away from that danger.
But that may have been enough.
Obviously,
Corona Racing looks like
time.
We'll see where Sanji's at comparatively. Sanji was taking a little further right. And a little celebratory weapon fire there from Test Squadron. Maybe just a little desk pop. It's nothing too serious.
So there we go. So they are a little bit ahead of Sanji Sama still, but these two teams have been trading places a lot in the last few minutes.
Yeah, and we did see Sanji a little bit further right into the midst of those larger rocks, having to maneuver around. Test Squadron going left, maybe a little bit more clear, but kind of isolating them out in between some of those lakes. They do look like they're pretty close to a head-to-head here, maneuvering back and forth. And
they are. It looks like we're about 14
kilometers.
15, yeah. About 14 kilometers away from the first checkpoint. Distance from front to back of our races right now is 7.5 kilometers, which for how far our races have driven already is not too bad. So there you can see it on the overview. Everyone, like all the way from Midnight Bar to Yodalorian, is essentially just that one turn that we went past earlier. So all in all, pretty close for what we've been witnessing so far.
Yeah, pretty close. There is, only a 7.5 kilometer distance. They're 14 kilometers out for the lead. So really closing that gap pretty quickly. We see that checkpoint 1 position where we're going to have that handoff. And of course, the Polaris Bridge still ahead of us. It'll be quite interesting to see how they do that. Now, while we're watching this,
I was going to say, during these endurance races, I read, there's certainly something to be said about comfort of your seats and comfort of your hands, why don't you talk to us about Monster Tech? That was such a good segue. Let's go.
Yeah. So Monster Tech provides high-end sim rigs and mounting solutions for elite level immersion and performance. And I got to tell you, you're doing a race like this. It's an hour and a half. Ergonomics are just one of the big things that can make and break your experience. Having the joysticks or whatever, if you've got a yoke, anything like that, having those positioned properly is huge. So that's where Monster Tech comes in with the flexibility of their joystick mounting solutions, as well as the flight chairs. Now, Monster Tech is a sponsor for Atmo. Make sure to use the discount code Atmo at checkout when you're looking up your flight sim rig.
And if you didn't know, if you buy the Mariah Monster Tech chair, you actually go faster. It's kind of crazy.
I heard that was the case. It's the right color for it.
Yeah,
It's the right color for it.
Back
My
to the
personal
front,
preference,
we
the
have Sanji Sama from Corona Racing and Midnight Bard from Test Squadron, still fighting
separation
their
between these
way
two.
through.
Yeah, this is one inversion difference. One of them gets flipped over. The other one can take it over. So, yeah, good to see them really duking it out. Sanji trying to get as many points as possible and close this gap with Test Squadron. So, got to be feeling good about where they're positioned right now. Then bringing up third, fourth, and fifth. Our current leaderboard positions 3, 2, and 1, kind of in reverse order, with Drunken Turtle, Premier Core Colonial, and Venture Origins leading up the back. Still just about 7 kilometer separation between the front and the back over the entirety of this race is still really good. We're going to see that maybe separate a little bit more. Oh, that's Sanji going sideways, inverted, and there we are.
At least it's very, very quick recoveries. So, like, you're losing a lot of time still when that happens, but not enough to make you just like drop out of the race. Really, you've still got plenty of time to catch up, and enough of the races seem to be making these mistakes that it sort of is okay, as we are about 8 kilometers away from our changeover.
Yeah, and really the terrain is being pretty fair to everyone out here. We see some movement in positions 3, 4, and 5 as Punch Nomies has now moved up to number 4, overtaking Delta Diatus Racing. So they'll need to watch out for that. Check Leak, Quelsar, and Dark Hour still. That triangle, this three-way battle to really solidify that top 3. All 3 are on top of each other. Somebody's got to make a move.
Very
here.
cool to see as well.
Representing
Very cool to
Punch Nomies. Go ahead.
Yeah, very cool to see. Just in the first 5 minutes of the race today, Quelsar was right in the back and has sort of clawed their way back in. They, even when they got to the sort of first turn of the race, they were still at the back of the majority of the party. So they pushed themselves in a little bit, and yeah, exactly right. They are now fighting against Dark Hour and Czech League, and possibly losing the fight once again. Czech League may be pushing ahead here as they head towards the checkpoint.
We're watching here. That 3-way. So Dark Hour representing Amrock's Fang, Quelsar representing Punch Nomies, Czech League representing Delta Diatus. Good 3-way battle going on. And not too far away, we see 4 kilometers out. So maybe about a 3 kilometer separation here. And they're all within about 10 kilometers of that exchange point.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone's about to get real compressed real soon as they all park up. With this race, there are sort of 2 main compression points. One is the checkpoint, one is the Polaris, where we'll hopefully see everyone sort of move together. Does a kind of it does do a kind of cool thing in the race, similar to in F1 when you get the safety car out and everyone gets compressed and now everyone's right on top of each other. Does a similar sort of thing in these situations, which is quite nice to see because it changes the race up a little bit. You've been doing this big endurance race for this whole time, and while we do still have these large battles, it definitely brings in an interesting element to it.
Yeah. See Quelsar, Czech League, head to head, kind of coming up on the side. And just the skybox behind it.
Yep.
Oh, Oh man! Right as we saw kind of that skybox, the Pyro 5 system has this kind of large scale gas cloud around it for that higher. We talk about the six natural moons and Pyro 4 that's captured in its orbit,
Hmm.
but it all kind of exists within this large cloud area that really gives it a unique skybox within the Pyro system. And yeah,
Yeah,
getting
that's
to
one
see
thing.
the
That's
best
one
of
thing
it
I've
here.
really That's one thing I've really enjoyed with all of the pyro locations is that they all have that like larger gas cloud around them. Particularly Pyro One having like the blue tint cloud around it as well. Sort of just it adds a very very cool element to it. Whether it's realistic or not, don't really care. It looks cool as hell.
Now we see Quelsar here that got spun around. Check leak now getting spun around. Dark Hour
Mhm.
looked like they were stationary, might have gotten inverted.
Possibly, but certainly these two competitors are having a lot of problems with their maneuverability here. Once again, this vehicle does not like to travel straight. It will start to spin out on the the smallest slopes, if you will. But Dark Hour is certainly in this little fight for third through fifth, able to come out of it the fastest.
Yeah. And we see they're coming up on a few kilometers out. See all those vehicles lined up, the headlights ready for that exchange. We're about to see Test Squadron and Corota Racing make those.
Indeed, we are. If you are just joining the System 7 finals here over at Pyro 5, welcome to Volcano Bay. This is the 7th race of the System 7 as we are heading in towards our first changeover. We're going to be seeing our racers swap over to some Cyclones in a moment to finish this race off, the second half of this race. And we're going to be seeing a Polaris very, very soon. So here we go. We have a great shot of those Cyclones set up and ready to go for our first changeover here, which will be Test Squadron. They are currently in the lead for the finals, race number 7. We have a big fight going on at the moment with a
And we
couple of
see
our
the
back
Test
end
Squadron
teams.
coming up behind the Caterpillar here with the Cyclones ready to go, driving up to their bay, jumping out and heading over to that Cyclone for the exchange handoff position.
And there we go. So you got to have a little bit of relief. The first half-ish of the race is over, and you're moving into the Cyclones, which, in my opinion, the Cyclones are a lot easier to maneuver the majority of the time, and so you're going to have a little bit of a little bit of reprieve, I guess, shall we say? But in my experience, the one thing it doesn't have is it does not flip over as easily. But look at that handover. Both Sanji
Wow.
Sama from Corridor Racing and Test Squadron leaving at pretty much exactly the same time. That is
Yeah.
very, very cool to
They are
see. So they are still on top of each other as they head into the second half of the race.
gunning for it very competitively. And now we're seeing the Midnight Bard driving for Test Squadron with Renee and the co-pilot. Renee, who is leading off with the Lynx, now swapping back.
So yeah, there we have it. Our first races are off, and they are on their way towards the Polaris, the next big obstacle in today's race. Currently, Sanji Sama in the lead out of the gates. Now, let's have a quick look, if we can, back at Amarok's Fang, Delta Dietus, and Punch Nomis, as any minute now they should also be approaching the Caterpillar. There we go. You can see it in the distance. So Quelsar and Checkleak and Dark Hour a little bit ahead. Whoa!
Ooh,
A little bit of a
collision
collision
there.
here between Corroder and Test, actually. So quite big there, as they're going to be fighting for it. And it looks like Dark Hour will be most likely our third racer to hit the checkpoint.
Yeah, and Dark Hour is going to be handing off to Gravity Cat. Check Leak is going to be continuing on as well, and Quellstar is going to be passing it off to Herbie. So these three racers, that trio, I think we're going to see another competitive Rally Point 2 launch. And yeah, Dark Hour a little bit ahead, but with the changeover to Gravity Cat, will be the first one we see. They've got to feel really good about their position here. It's 53 minutes into the race, hitting this checkpoint 1 about the halfway mark. The next big hurdle is going to be that Polaris Bridge that we're looking forward to.
I'm certainly looking forward to. Whether our racers are looking forward to it is another question completely.
Gotta love the paints here.
Oh, here we
And a
go.
little
So
bit of
yeah,
separation
once
there
again,
as we
some
see
very,
some of
very
these lakes.
dangerous puddles. You do not want to accidentally spin out here into one of these puddles. So Test Squadron having a lot of problems in the Cyclone section. Meanwhile, Saji-sama flooring it. Has actually gotten quite a bit of distance ahead of Test Squadron now. Obviously, all of that can change any moment, and any wrong jump here could spell death. Now, one thing we mentioned, obviously, is about how dangerous this track could be, but especially the second half. The second half is far more riddled with just tiny little
Mhm.
lakes and like random inlets. And if you take like one random jump that you're not super familiar with, you may just end up in the water. So
Yeah.
caution is the name of the game here. You can certainly still go quite fast, especially with the Cyclone, but you've got to be really, really careful here.
Yeah, and that start to checkpoint one, as you mentioned, you've got a lot more terrain, a lot of ability to go wider than other teams. We saw Team Punch Nomis with Quelsar doing that. But with this next point, we've got additional checkpoints. We've got the Polaris Bridge in between. You're out on this peninsula with very limited options. You can't go too far left or too far right without ending up in the drink. So these racers are going to have similar lines they've got to run, and it's going to be about who can manage that difficulty most effectively.
It is indeed. Let's have a look once again at Amarok's Fang, Delta Didus, and Team Punch Nomis, who we should be seeing have this swap over now. I imagine Amarok's Fang already have done theirs. Meanwhile, our other two. All good. We're gonna have a look at the overhead, and yeah, from what I can tell, it does look like we have seen the swap over happen. I can also see Luce and the Yodalorian look like they're just about to hit checkpoint one.
Yeah, and we see that Polaris Bridge there. Racers are closing in. We saw Sanji there, and did not see a little bit further behind with the Test Squadron crew. And we
Here we
see Herbie
go.
now,
So,
checked Leak,
yep.
and Dark Hour Gravity Cat combo.
Yep. So we have our other three teammates. All the first five teams are in the Cyclones, with the other three teams very, very close behind. Now, I've got to say, I am always very concerned if I see Herbie on the board in a four-wheeled vehicle. So if I am Gravity Cat or Check Leak at the moment, I know who I'm trying to beat right this second, and it is Herbie.
And one thing I wish we could see, we get a little bit of better visual indication with these racers with the headlights on, because of the lighting conditions here. We get to see those headlights kind of spin around if they do have difficulties. We're kind of with Dark Hour, Gravity Cat team, as well as Herbie behind. They don't have their headlights on, so we can't really tell if they're struggling with this terrain or if it's managing properly. Get a really great indicator from Check League, but that is one of those aspects. Being in the dark, trying to understand that. Some racers might have their gamma turned up. The navigation here is a difficult challenge at night in a lot of places, but obviously certain teams opting for headlights versus not, and we'll need to see how that manages.
Yeah, look, Pyro, all of the moons of Pyro 5 are quite heavily lit up for the most part, so it's less an issue of your actual visibility, although you can see a lot of sort of green and red lights around Herbie there, which are likely due to I'm trying to remember what they're called, like the little lights that you can attach to yourself on your armor. Our
Yeah,
producer just
the
said it
quick
in my
flares.
ear, but he's got a terrible British accent, so I couldn't understand. Thank you. Yes, the quick flares. Yeah. So there's certainly some visibility just within the Cyclone itself, and that's all you really need. You can, as we are watching right now through our camera, still quite easy to see everything in front of you.
Yeah, when I thought the green underglow there from Herbie was from his latest appearance on Pimp My Ride, but it is good to know there are other opportunities.
You gotta pump the neon on the bottom of the car. We've got the hydraulic. Well, we don't have the hydraulics on the Cyclone. We left those with the Rover.
We see Checkley there stalled out.
Interesting. Yeah. So Herbie now having an opportunity to attack Check League once again and maybe get ahead here. Sanji's.
Ooh.
What the hell?
Yeah, that is
I
the.
don't know what
There's
happened
a
there,
reason
but
why
we're
they
moving
call these
towards
the
the Polaris.
cyclones.
That's right. That's why they call the Cyclone. So here we go. We're going to see our first racer go over the Polaris. But honestly, I'm more just impressed with what we just saw as a little bit of a sport there a moment ago. So this is the Polaris Bridge. This is the thing that we've been very excited for, but also very much dreading for this entire race. We're going to hope that all 8 of our racers cross with no issue, starting with Kuroda Racing Team. Ooh, that bridge is not. Yeah,
We
I don't want to jump
saw
that either.
leading into this, it looks like they do have. He's got the tractor beam out, working on getting his vehicle moved up over that gap.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Hey,
And you gotta make
any
sure that
way you
vehicle
can
doesn't
get
roll
the
back down the
Cyclone
ramp.
over. Any way you can get the
Yeah.
Cyclone over, right?
And we saw coming into this that's just a couple of meters wide on that last little limb as well.
Yep.
But this section, obviously, yeah, you're gonna have both sides,
Ooh.
and he drives right through.
That was very deep on the other side, but it's good to see that they were able to survive the other side of it. So I wonder if we're
Yeah.
going to see every single racer do that today. If we do, I think we will see almost guaranteed all of our racers survive. I do want to see someone try to jump over a hill just before it and try to land on the ramp for style points. So if any of the racers
Yeah.
can hear that, just let that know. Just letting you know, that'd be
And
cool.
they are allowed to do this. They discussed it in the
Yep.
pre-racing briefing that if you don't trust the depth of that initial, you are allowed to get out, use a tractor beam to get it up onto the ramp safely, and then
Mhm.
move on from there. As we saw, Sanji Sama really managing. So we see check league
Yep.
here from Delta Diatus. We've got Dark
Ooh,
Hour,
if you look to the left,
Gravity Cat.
Dark Hour and Gravity Cat looks like they got stuck. They may have headed the wrong way around, as that is an essentially impassable little jump there onto that island. So both Herbie and Check
Yeah.
able to get ahead of Dark Hour and Gravity Cat.
Okay. And we see the Midnight Bard, Renee, working there, trying to do the tractor beam across.
And there we go.
Looks like
And it looks like
walking it all the
they're
way
going to be a little bit
across.
safer. They're going to do it on the ramp down as well.
Yeah, and you gotta the kind of flipping upside down. That is one of the difficulties with the tractor beam on these vehicles. You don't have a lot of control over the roll of that vehicle. And the
Yep.
small bridge segment, obviously, providing some challenges. See the Midnight Bard getting in and out of the vehicle on the opposite side. Probably resetting, because we saw the tractor beams play havoc in race number 1. And behind them, we see an update in the leaderboards. Team Punch Nomies
Yep.
moving into 3rd. Looks like Herbie is just a little bit ahead of Check League.
Yep. And yeah, so
And
Check
Gravity
League,
Cat, we
Nomi's
saw
Delta Diatus.
behind.
Exactly, yeah. So they had that problem earlier where they went just a little bit the wrong way. This is going to be an interesting one about how fast these guys can get over the Polaris. They're essentially right on top of each other. This is the closest 2 races that we've seen at the Polaris section. Checked Leak. Oh, goes for it.
Goes for
and
it.
No explosion
Just
from
sends it.
Check Leak. Gambles and
Yeah.
succeeds and comes out the other side completely fine. That is huge because it looks like Herbie isn't going to risk it. Herbie is going to tractor beam it across the Polaris, but that is a massive development
Honestly,
for Check League. That is huge.
For Delta Diatus in 3rd place, they've got the points that they need to make up. Taking the risk is there. I guarantee you, Punch Nomi has discussed this during the race today, decided if they wanted to take their gamble and potentially end up with a DNF or just walk it across, as we see Herbie doing now, going conservative because you're in the control of the overall point situation here. All you got to do is survive. We see those beautiful teal lights.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up, you just risk it. You need the points. Remember, if Delta Diatus win the race today, there's a very real possibility they can push through to 2nd. And if they push through to 2nd, obviously they get a bunch of extra different prizes. that's certainly going to be something that they're after. So the risk in it, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, and right now it's just a 15-point gap to that second place position. Amarok's Fang, who's also doing really, really well, is there. But the amount of points that are up for grabs, that 15 point, is really going to require, first of all, Team Delta Diatis to have top 1, 2, or 3. There's
Mhm.
no way that they get anything below. They need the first or second place to realistically have a shot. Where Amarok's Fang,
Yeah.
fifth place position, 10 points. A first or a second might tie them if Delta Diatis is able to get there. But again, anything more than 10 points or even 8 points, fifth or sixth place for Team Amarok's Fang is essentially going to
Mhm.
lock out Delta Diatis from the top, from being the upset here.
Yep. Now, the producer read my mind. I really wanted to see exactly where Corona Racing and Test Squadron was sitting right now, and you see Test have made their way once again a little bit, sort of off to
Yeah,
the
going
left side there. Meanwhile, Czech League gone
and
right
check
into a
league.
mountain. Interesting.
They make
Yeah,
their
that one
way
does in fact
around,
have to
seeing
lead.
that vertical. That's an interesting route to choose, getting inverted.
Oh, yep. We are upside down once again.
The risks
But
of
like I
going
said,
full send sometimes
yeah.
are a little bit difficult to manage.
They are, and unlike the Rover, it is a lot harder to flip the Cyclone back around. So Czech League going to have to get out, grab the tractor beam, and push it all the way around. Meanwhile, Team Test Squadron are going to be able to push a lot further ahead than they were earlier.
Yeah, the Midnight Bard right here, Test Squadron. And have we seen Sanji Sama up ahead? Corona Racing, just really a dominant performance up at the beginning. And here we
Mm-hmm.
see Sanji Sama coming up to the next checkpoint.
We do indeed. In fact, can we see the overhead perspective here just to see exactly where our distances are? So yeah, you can see Sanyu Sama there, quite a little bit ahead of Test Squadron. So absolutely crushing the lead that they were able to grab after the transition into past the Polaris Bridge. Meanwhile, pretty much, oh, you love to see this. Sorry, you do love to see this.
Yeah,
Team Punch
that is
Nomies.
sportsmanship.
Herbie gets out of the Cyclone to help Czech League reset them and get them on their way. That is all right. I love it. I love this race so much.
Yeah, what a moment there. Congratulations, and honestly, like the sportsmanship demonstrated by these teams. You love to see that. Czech League going for it. I know Herbie was upset, going more conservative, and
Mhm.
the moment for Czech League to just full send, but then also to have Herbie come in and despite the challenges, doing what they can to help another competitor out, keeping it competitive.
Now, with that being in mind, Czech League, don't help Herbie. Herbie doesn't need the help. All right, just ram Herbie as quickly as you can, get him to flip over, and then just leave him in the dust. All right, like I'm just letting you know, you don't have to reciprocate.
Yeah, and we've got Herbie Czech League here, both representing Punch Dummies, Delta Diatis. Where is Gravity Cat for Amarok's Fang? They've dropped down to fifth position here, working a little bit. And the navigation in
Yeah,
this
like
limited area, that peninsula, is really difficult.
it is, yeah. Yeah. Like we said, they had that big issue before the Polaris change. I imagine they have since done the Polaris. Oh no, yeah, sorry, they did do the Polaris change, but then they had some issues, I think, once again. So yeah, you can see Herbie and Czech League right here, but Test Squadron pretty much right in front of them. So we're going to see both of these teams go essentially push into second and third. Meanwhile, Sanji Sama though just nowhere to be seen, just way out front.
Yeah, I'd love to get a look behind from Sanji Sama, see how far
Yep.
behind the rest of the teams are. Just about to that next checkpoint area. But a dominant lead, it at least appears. The terrain already pretty far ahead as we get this look back towards the field. Sanji Sama, nobody else. A couple kilometers almost. We see
Yeah,
Dark Hour
yeah,
off to the
about
left at
3.
almost 4 kilometers.
Yep. about 3 kilometers behind Sanji Sama. So yeah, just a huge difference in our competitors here. Sanji Sama makes their
Wow.
way through that checkpoint, and then that's home free until the finish line.
Okay, at checkpoint 2, continuing, we see Dark Hour and Gravity Cat from Amarok's Fang back. Ooh,
We have
that looks like
another
Test Squadron.
issue.
There are,
Yeah,
yeah, out on a
yeah, Test Squadron
peninsula,
with
a little
another.
bit of a difficulty.
Yes, another wrong turn for our competitors here, and not to mention just a wrong turn, a very precarious wrong turn here, as it's just water all around. So they're going to have to very carefully go over these islands until they can get back on their way.
And there we see a Muir from Premier Corps Colonial.
We do,
So
yeah.
Test
So
Squadron
yeah.
with a costly misdirection potentially. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this is really tragic. They were in first place for a little while in the first section, and they've just been pushed all the way back. Now we do unfortunately have our first DNF, but an hour and 9 minutes into it
Drunken
is a
Turtles.
very respectable attempt. AAWA Drunken Turtle Racing. We'll find out what the DNF is from, but I have a prediction, and I think it's water, honestly. But well done, team.
Yeah.
You guys absolutely crushed it, and you made it an hour and 9 minutes into this race, which is about 2/3 of the race. So yeah, well done.
And that was Kretigos and Eraser representing Drunken Turtle Racing. Drunken Turtle Racing at 13th place overall with 9 points. But, coming in 9th place here, getting some additional points on the board to help boost those numbers. Just a smidge.
So there we go.
Looks
It
like
was, in fact, an explosion on the Polaris Bridge. That was what we were a little bit scared of happening. It's very unfortunate, Drunken Turtle Racing, but once again, well done. You guys absolutely crushed it. Sorry, I just saw Sanji Sama land in the water then.
Ooh.
But yeah, you guys
I thought
absolutely
you were just
crushed
putting a
it,
little
and we
juice
hope to
on
see you
that.
next season.
Kronzi, you're always so expressive. I just felt like that was your natural speaking voice. So
It is.
Sanji Sama, really, we're seeing really great lines here on the Cyclone.
Mhm.
This has got to be Sanji's preferred vehicle based on the performance right now. And here we see the Midnight Bard, the Yodelarian, going opposite directions. Kind of wonder who's, yeah, that's the Yodelarian and Isotope. They're getting all kinds of turned around here. Test Squadron.
They are indeed. Yeah. Maybe they just didn't have the practice on the second half of the race as much as they did. Maybe they're having a little bit of issues with communication. One of the big advantages you get of having multiple people is you get to sort of you can get told of where to go. You can have someone, as the classic rally races, like, hey, turn left here, whatever. But maybe there's some communication issues. Not 100% sure. As now they're also heading backwards, it seems.
It's hard to tell from this perspective, but yeah,
It
this
seems like they are, yeah.
is pretty rough. We're seeing other teams ahead going. So that is
They're
the
heading
Polaris
back to
Bridge
the
behind.
Polaris.
Oh no, yeah, somebody's got to get them turned around.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder why they're heading back to the Polaris. Maybe they're done. Maybe they've got it. Maybe the trick is there's no rule against commandeering the Polaris in the race. I'm fairly sure. So maybe their plan, kill the Polaris pilot and then just take it all the rest of the way.
Well, not specifically stated. I may argue that they might not be allowed to do that. Oh, and we see this is Sanji Sama and Dark Hour Gravity Cat. Amarok's Fang taking up. We thought Sanji was up ahead, but Amarok's Fang, second place, coming in delivering that terrain, the navigation through there looks like it's caught some people off guard.
Well, I was gonna say,
a little bit of confusion
Sanji was ahead
from a couple of teams.
Sanji was ahead for pretty much the entirety of this second half. However, we did see a little bit earlier that Dark Hour and Gravity Cat were about 4 kilometers or 3 kilometers behind Sanji. So possibly a couple of collisions being an issue here, possibly a rerouting being an issue here.
Yeah.
Not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but Dark Hour, Gravity Cat, both names on top of each other. But having that co-pilot there to help navigate being super critical there. And Sanji's still just right on their heels. This is a battle for first and second, right?
One that
Kuroda,
matters a lot for Amarok's Fang to ensure that Delta Didus cannot push ahead of them into second.
All right, we'll see where Venture Origins and Test Squadron end up at the rear there.
If we could we have a quick look at the overview, as I've got to imagine we're getting somewhat close. Yeah, there we are. So we're in the turn after checkpoint 2 now, and you can see just how much of this race is left. It is not a lot. This race is going to end in about the next 15, 20 minutes for the most part. So who do you think is going to take it? We've already had a couple of position changes happening. Let us know in the chat if you're watching at Twitch, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, MySpace, Bebo, America Online, wherever you're watching.
Don't forget Ask Jeeves. Okay, Ask Jeeves and maybe E-Bomb's World there for those dating ourselves. And we see Gravity Cat up ahead. Sanji Sama just a couple behind. Now Kratos was the DNF there. And yeah, we saw from that overhead, it looked like Test Squadron was still heading back towards the Polaris Bridge. I wonder if there was some type of maybe a medical, if there's a resource problem they were trying to address.
Yeah, not sure. Not sure. We'll have to
with
find out
a race
after the race at this point.
Yeah, with a race of this type of duration, you got to make sure that you're topped off health wise, O2. And of course, being in a very tight peninsula area, some difficult terrain, it could be that you get turned around. We saw that with a couple of folks. We may have seen some other inversions happening, but yeah.
I think when in doubt, if you end up lost on this track, just look to see where the other racers are going, and then just hope that they know where they're going. Yeah. That's my strategy for a lot of these types of races, at least.
Go find what Herbie is doing and follow him as quickly as possible.
Yep.
We see Herbie and Check Leak. Do we see Sanji Sama up there?
This is where we see Sanji. So
just
Sanji and Dark Hour Gravity Cat still on top of each other here. So we did have that lead change a while ago now. It was like 5-10 minutes ago. But Sanji's still on the tail. So not giving this up. Wants to finish this race first after multiple years of failed qualifications for the System 7. Wants to prove that they can do it. And I'm really, really hoping that they can.
All right. Great levels of competition happening between all these racers at 1 hour and 16 minutes in. Still just neck and neck here. Love to see this. I know I do want to say, with the teal lighting that Herbie's brought in, it's a lot easier to tell where their competition is happening. So Dark Hour, Sanji, definitely neck and neck as they come into this hillside.
Yeah, but I think Sanji, unfortunately, is
going for elevation
steeper
quick
section. Yeah, so they're going to come down a little bit faster here, but you can see that Gravity Cut and Dark Hour, I think they've opted for a little bit of a safer spot there. So yeah, Sanji with a little bit of a collision, losing some more time. There's some distance being made here between these two teams.
Yeah, and Sanji doing his best donuts there again, proving the name of the cyclone here. Only a couple of 100 meters off.
There we go. We're back again with Test Squadron. I was going to say I think they've found where they're supposed to be, but we're struggling with these rocks, it seems a little bit. But at least we're no longer heading back towards the Polaris. We are well and truly back on track.
Yeah, and making their move now, and we see that group up at the kind of that final turn, more or less. They're going to have a large sweeping left in towards that finish line. This is the group separation happening. We see the Midnight Bard already back on the right direction, but really falling behind the Yodelarian.
Chef Leak with some wrong turns here, getting a little stuck next to some water. So you can actually see it looks like Herbie and Amua are going to be able to get ahead of Check Leak here. No, it's a DNF.
Oh no,
it's a DNF.
Oh, Check
They must have they must have jumped into the water by accident there, gotten a car explosion.
Oh, man.
Very, very unfortunate for them. But you can see they had made a wrong turn. So it's very possible that they've come around, gone over a little bit of a slope, and they've been unable to stop themselves as they go into the water. Meanwhile,
And
Herbie and Amua are going real wide around so that they can avoid it.
And now Amarok's Fang has got to be feeling pretty good. Delta Diotis was the only team within striking distance to upset their second place finish.
Yep.
They've got to be feeling really good about their positioning, and obviously the heartbreak there from Czech League from Delta Diotis running both legs today. But still secure in the third place position overall for the race this series. Great representation from Czech League. So obviously,
as it
eliminated.
stands. As it stands with that elimination, with that DNF, that does completely lock in our top 3 competitors on the leaderboard. And if you have not been paying attention, I'm not going to tell you who that is. I'm going to let you guys wait until we finish the race and we show you guys the leaderboard before you know. But if you have been paying attention, congratulations to those teams.
And here's Herbie with those teal quick flares. Really riding in style in the dark here on Pyro, the Pharaoh, one of the moons of Pyro 5. And getting some headlights. We've got Amarok's Fang leading currently. That's going to be Gravity Cat and Dark Hour. Looks like Kuroda Racing with Sanji Sama behind. Punch Nomis with Herbie. Premier Corps Colonial with Amur. Venture Origins with Isotope, and Test Squadron with the Midnight Bard.
Here we go once again. So yeah, about a 400, maybe a 350 meter difference between Team Amarok's Fang and Team Kuroda Racing. So Sanji Sama still fighting for this first place position. Still a little bit of time to make it too. We've got maybe 15, 20 minutes left of the race, maybe a little bit left of that, less than that for these first few competitors as they come around the final turn. So Sanji, you do not have a lot of time left to make up this distance.
Yeah, Sanji working real hard, fighting for middle of the pack, and as you mentioned, mathematically, the way the positionings are lined out now, Amarok's Fang is, Team Punch Nomis is guaranteed no worse than a 6th place position. 21 points being kind of the gap right now. They've got it locked in. They're, it's upsetting to see Delta Diotis eliminating as they had, keeping things all competitive. But yeah, the difference in points so far today has been good. And Punch always has to feel really good already. Still a 3rd place finish for this race, going to be securing quite a lot of points and further locking them in. And a great representation as well. We saw Herbie get out, helping Czech League when Czech League was inverted. So I gotta believe there's a little bit of melancholy feelings for Czech League being eliminated, but also understanding the sportsmanship's there.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. We're having a look once again at Herbie and Amur. Herbie gotten a lot more distance on Amur than when we had last saw them when we were watching the DNF from Czech League. So gaining a little bit of distance here. I think it's going to be pretty unlikely that we see Team Punch Nomis push into the first 2 positions here. But a 3rd place position would give them a ton of points. I'll put them 15 points to push them over the 140 point mark for the end of the season, which is very impressive.
Yeah. Great representation all around. And really from our teams all participating here. So love to see the full Series 7, System 7 series of races completed. You see Herbie navigating through these rocks, getting that terrain set up. And just riding easy.
Now, I do believe it's a little bit hard to see because we can't see the names right now, but you can see those 3 little arrows below stealth. I believe that 2 of those are Amarok's Fang and Kuroda Racing as they come around very, very close to the finish line. So once again, if you are just joining us right now, we are at the very, very end of the finals of the System 7 for this year. Amarok's Fang and Kuroda Racing, currently our leaders right on top of each other. Here we go. We're getting a look at them right now. You can see Sanji Sama and Gravity Cat fighting for it right on top of each other. They are fighting to the bitter end here to get the first place position. Punch Nomi's in third, a Premier Corps Colonial, everyone's favorite, in fourth, and then Venture Origins and Test Squadron are going to bring up back in fifth and sixth currently.
And you got to love how close these top two are, just battling it out. Amarok's Fang looking to secure a little bit more points on second place, locked in. But Kuroda Racing, Sanji Sama running solo throughout the entire System 7, ninth place with 21 points, and just really trying to drive that home. And it's got to feel good to get a first place here as well.
That's certainly what we're going to be looking for here. Remember, this is a roughly hour and a half, hour 40 race for most of our competitors. As you can see, about 8 kilometers, 9 kilometers from the end.
And you got to believe these racers are just sweating it out right now. We got Sanji Sama, Gravity Cat that are both head to head as they have been for the last several kilometers. Moving, we don't see them right now. Maybe getting a little bit behind. Sanji Sama pulling ahead right towards the end. Let's see if they can deliver.
I mean, yeah, very possible. I'm not sure where they're sitting at the moment, but Sanji Sama's got to be feeling pretty happy with only, 7.5 kilometers, 7.6 kilometers left until the end of the race. Taking a very hilly section, so it's actually very possible that Amarok's Fang are way out wide right now, trying to take it a bit safer.
Yeah, this terrain looks really gnarly. You've got a lot of rocks in here. We saw some that are those magic rocks that Sanji just decided to drive right through. Not everything's going to be there. And there we see Gravity Cat as Sanji kind of gets rolled over, taking further left.
So Gravity Cat did take the flatter route, but the flatter route was actually the inside line in this situation, it seems. So Sanji does look like they lose this lead just barely. So we're still right on top of each other. It's still either race's game right now as we head into these final few kilometers. This is an absolutely huge race. I did not think we would see a race this close towards the end of it.
Oh, not at all. With an hour and a half plus that we're expecting this to last, to have two teams, and we've seen this throughout the race. Teams kind of group together, and that drives you a little bit harder. You all take similar routes as you're clustered, and they've really closed some of those groups together. We've seen that with Punch Nomi's, Amarok's Fang, and Delta Diatus through the first portion. But Amarok's Fang and Punch Nomi's moving up ahead. Kuroda Racing with Sanji trying to manage this as they trade position still. 6 kilometers left to the finish line.
Yeah, those hills were not favorable there for Kuroda Racing with Sanji Sama just then. Every single little bump, Sanji was unfortunately just able to clip with the wheel of the Cyclone, so losing a ton of time there. Meanwhile, Gravity Cat and from Amarok's Fang are going to come around this little section to the right there, and they're going to move all the way through. They've got 6 kilometers left of this race. Let's hear your cheers. Do you think Kuroda Racing are going to win it? Do you think Amarok's Fang are going to win it?
Yeah. Let's see who your favorites are. And of course, we got Amarok's Fang, Kuroda, Premier Corps Colonial, Punch Nomi's, Venture Origins, Test Squadron. With Test Squadron getting turnaround, I think they might get the longest distance covered award for today. But still with a 6th position. Got to feel really good about that. And this terrain,
it's great to see, even with such a solid top 3, there's still stories being developed in this 7th race. Is awesome. And the big one is right here at the moment with Sanji Sama in 2nd place for the majority of the race today. Gets the opportunity to overtake a Test Squadron because they had a little bit of an issue of knowing where they are, but then Amarok's Fang able to push even further and get through. And right now ahead by a few hundred meters with only 4.5 kilometers left to go. As Sanji Sama with a big collision and a big spin out. That may be all she wrote, folks. Amarok's Fang may, in fact, have just solidified the win here with 400 meters difference between our 1st and 2nd place position. 4 kilometers left in the race. It would take a miracle here for Sanji Sama to take 1st.
You've got to believe Dark Hour, Gravity Cat, they are just pins and needles right now, white knuckling this for the last couple of kilometers. And you see how quick Sanji makes that up. There's some verticality here. Sanji's getting a little sideways, only a couple hundred meters. and you got to. This is the white knuckle moment. Head to head, as you know, Sanji Sama is right on your tail. You got to hit these lines perfectly. If you
Yep.
get inverted here, it could be the end of your first place hopes. Both
Not to
teams
mention,
really vying for this.
as you can see, Sanji Sama's lights sort of just appearing behind you every now and then, and the brighter they get, the closer you know Sanji is. So you be really careful here, but
What you got to be
I
worried
think
about?
that is just about it. Barring any major spin out here, I think Amarok's Fang are just going to be able to take this one after Sanji's massive spin out that we saw moments earlier.
It's not over till the fat lady sings, Cronty. These guys have to get across that finish line safely. But yes, watching with the lead, making sure you hit those lines properly, you're going to want to really dive in. And we see Sanji rolling sideways. He's pushing real hard for it. Sanji taking a
100%
page out of
taking
Checkdate's
every
book,
risk.
going full send.
You kind of have to. I mean, look, you know you're not going to come third at this stage. You might as well just absolutely smash it as much as you can. Take the risky routes if you can. Try to get ahead of Amarok's Fang here. But I think in a moment we are going to be seeing Gravity Cat and Dark Hour across the finish line. You can see our massive amount of vehicles that we've got at the finish line here.
And
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hour.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen. System 7 2025 is about to end. 7 races over several months. Amarok's Fang are looking, Sanji Sama's still on the tail, are looking to cross the finish line and win the finale race, likely with a time of just over 1 hour and 30 minutes. Unless Sanji Sama has something to say about it, because Sanji is trying. I don't know what our camera person is doing here. Sanji Sama.
Here we see the final 700 meters away, closing in to the end. This looks like the finish line cam coming from Deadly Donor.
Indeed it is.
Just 100 meters separating these teams. 90 minutes of racing and a few hundred meters, a couple of seconds max.
And there we are with an hour and 30 minutes and 25 seconds. Your winner of System 7, race number 7, the finale, is Amarok's Fang. Congratulations, guys. A great effort from you guys. And of course, in second place, only about 10 seconds later, Kuroda Racing with Sanji Sama. Well done, competitors.
Congratulations, 1 and 2, Amarok's Fang, Kuroda Racing. Got to be very, very happy with that. Gravity Cat and Sanji Sama really pushing it to the end of delivering the intense moments we love to see in System 7.
It was an awesome, awesome finish for that big race that we were watching there. Now we've still got some races on the field, so if we can, let's have a look back. It looks like Amur has gotten ahead of Herbie at this stage, at least according to our markers up there, but I think I just saw Herbie on the bottom right there. So there we go. So pretty much right on top of each other at the moment. Right. One just a little bit wider than the other as they also make their way towards the finish line.
And look at this sunrise shot with I believe Pyro 5 in the background there. Yep. Almost eclipsed in totality. Herbie off to the right, Amur off to the left. Did Herbie's quick flares drop out? Seems like he doesn't quite have the glow. I'm not hearing the techno music.
You never know.
These two racers head to head in this section for 3rd and 4th position. And Venture Origins behind, Test Squadron behind that. We'll see if Herbie's got a better line to run on this last few kilometers.
Yep. So both of these teams, about 8.5 kilometers away from the finish line. So it should take them about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer than that, to actually get themselves in there. But as we just saw with Kuroda Racing and Amarok's Fang, a lot of opportunities in the intermediate kilometers for some changes here. Premier Corps Colonial looking for that podium finish to prove once again to everyone that they deserve to be here for the System 7 and to impress all of their absolutely lovely fans that are in the chat here on Twitch.
Oh. Great views, and I can just hear the bass thump. You gotta wonder what Herbie's jamming out to right now, as he's obviously in the zone, running through these last couple of kilometers, and the skyline behind there. Wonderful views.
That really is a very, very cool shot. That is one of the reasons why I do like these moons. It's one of the reasons why I always really liked the Crusader moons, because you just had like the massive, well, you just had Crusader just massively in the background. But Pyro 5, a specific Pyro is a lot closer to Pyro 5, and so you get these awesome shots.
Well, I've got to believe with the update of Crusader, it really looks like a nicely marbled steak up in the skyline for you.
Yep.
Always makes me hungry.
All right, so a little bit
And
slow going
Herbie.
for these final little sections, but only a matter of time now before we get a sense of who is going to take the third spot in today's race. Team Punch Nomis already solidifying themselves as first place for the season as a total, but looking for a big solid finish to keep them going for next season.
And Herbie getting spun out a little bit. The last couple of kilometers of this terrain are pretty gnarly. You're going to get knocked sideways. Flipped around. We saw that with Sanji really going into the cyclone with the cyclone a few times today. But smooth sailing for this section. As I curse. Oh, hey, he's doing donuts for the style points.
That's because of the music. The music is causing that. So we'll try, if we can get another view of the finish line camera, get a bit of a better understanding of exactly where Herbie and Amura are sitting there. Oh, okay, so it looks like Amura is about 500 meters or so behind Herbie. A bit hard to tell. No, yeah, there you go. So yeah, about 500 meters behind Herbie. So Herbie has gained a lot of distance in the last few minutes here. And similarly, we saw Kuroda and Amarok saying we're about, that 400 to 500 meters behind each other when they were coming in for the finish line too. So this is Herbie's race here to lose to get third place position. You're going to try for it though.
And
Still plenty of time left.
Yeah, we see the Yodelorian there, an Isotope, I believe, from Venture Origins. And we'll get a view on how far behind the Midnight Bard and Renee are for Test Squadron. But yeah, we see there's a verticality there.
Mm-hmm.
Coming over those hills, real momentum killer.
What a tragic story for Test Squadron for this race, though. Just ahead almost the entirety of the first section of the race, and then all the way down to sixth place at the moment is incredibly tragic, but has proven that they are going to be a team to watch next year. This is one of the first times where they've had an opportunity to prove themselves and been able to show it for the majority of the race, and then unfortunately just one major issue has caused them to fall far back in the pack. So now very, very excited to see Test Squadron next year hopefully come in and try to qualify.
I got a little bit of a puddle there. You driving through, and we saw that's what ended up knocking out Czech League. Drove a little bit too close to the water and had the DNF securing a 7th place there for Czech League. Here's Amur and Herbie duking it out still.
Yeah, you are much more on the wide side here. Herbie on the inner line. This could still be either race's a position here, but we are pretty much right at the end of the track here. As you can see, those ships come into view on the right side at the finish line. I think this is going to be another podium finish for Team Punch Nomis this season, which they have just been absolutely insane this season. Constant podium finishes, which is why they are taking home the big trophy for the season.
Yeah, first, second, third places pretty consistently throughout the event. Running a little more conservatively, as we saw for some of the start of the races, those endurance ones, really letting the rest of the crowd settle up ahead of them, picking their lines and sticking to them, going for that slow is smooth, smooth is fast mentality, making sure you can finish the races, give yourself the best opportunity for a top tier placement. Now, just within the final kilometer, we watch Herbie making their way into this checkpoint at the finish line.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely pumping the German Eurobeat music, whatever it might be, as they cross the finish line. Here we go. You can see the outpost and the official finish line. That is going to be Team Punch Nomis getting third place for race number 7 of the System 7, 29.55. And any moment now, we're going to see a Muir from Team Premier Core Colonial cross the finish line and hit 4th place.
Yeah, watching an hour, 38 minutes. Between Quelsar leading the front half, and then Herbie coming up on the second. Of course, Gravity Cat, Dark Hour for Amrock's Fang already completed. Sanji Sama running it solo, getting that second place. Herbie and Quelsar. Here we see Amur helped out from the first section by Luce from Premier Core Colonial. Gotta love that 4th place finish.
And there we go. 4 of our teams have crossed the finish line. Officially, half of the races that we started with today. Only 2 teams left on the board, and we're looking at one of them right now. This is Team Venture Origins, about 4.8 kilometers away from the finish line.
Yeah. Moving along. Just running smooth now. 5th place pretty well secured. Finish out the race. Again, the last couple of kilometers of this terrain are really rough. Your lines matter. Seeming to have quite a bit of buffer. It looks like about 13 kilometer separation between teams 5 and 6 as a test squadron making up for the getting turned around in that peninsula area. A lot of scattered lakes that'll turn you around and get you disoriented pretty quickly. So,
and honestly, not too bad. Like they were very behind when they had to do the turnaround test. So if they are only 13 kilometers behind, that's a very solid effort. So I think, yeah, there's a very likely chance if they just did not get lost that first time that we would have seen Test Squadron get the lead there. And of course, Venture Origins giving us a couple of style points on some jumps as they go into the last few kilometers.
Yeah, getting real vertical there. Gotta love to see that. The acrobatics in full force here. And these Cyclones are really durable vehicles. You know, we've put this through the test on multiple occasions, but the ability to just stick with this terrain, manage it properly, they've done a great job. The only real factors here have been the water eliminating a few folks. And we did have one explosion on that Polaris bridge that we thought was going to be a bigger factor today, but only one person not making it across. Oh, and they're
it's
a nose down.
Yeah, the Polaris I think ended up being less of a problem due to the fact that we did the tractor beam trick to take it over, which I thought was, one, both a great solution, and 2, also very entertaining to watch them do that in order to continue the race. But I do have to say, one of the best moments today was it Checked Leak? Checked Leak.
Yeah.
Just saying screw it and just beelining it over the water instead of using the tractor beam, just risking it all was incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah. And I think another moment with Check Leak that would end up on my highlights is when he got inverted. Herbie came out, stopped his race to go get him set up right and allowed to continue, showing great sportsmanship there. And you love to see that. Quite a few highlight moments from this year's System 7. Of definitely seeing the group as they were duking it out. Some of the sunrise as we're getting the finale and the last couple of racers coming in. What a great scene to end the System 7 races on.
As we are crossing the finish line with our last few races, Red, what was your favorite moment from the season?
Oh man, I still think the full forward gainer from Sanji Sama at the race to the Cloud Chasers platform. Just getting, really showcasing the difficulties of racing in StarCitizen and the heartbreak moments you might see.
I still have to bring it back once again to watching Blue Barafina and Neojet over at the Snake Pit, just right on top of each other for the entire race.
Oh.
And then right at that last moment, Blue Barafina getting there as Neojet had that small collision was just an incredibly entertaining moment to watch. So it's been a great
Venture
season
Origins
of things.
Crossing the finish line, that's Isotope driving the Yodelorian, taking for the first, and self-destructing the vehicle on the landing pad. I was wondering why the Yodelorian had taken off full sprint into the hillside, but I realize now Isotope wanting to send it off in some fireworks, marking the end of their System 7.
Absolutely love it. All right. Well, we have one team left on the track. We are also going to track to beam out that debris. We have one team left on the track if we could get a view of them possibly, which is Test Squadron, a team that was crushing in the first half of the race, had a bit of an issue in the second race where they got a little bit lost. We saw them heading back towards the Polaris at one point. They should be maybe about 10 kilometers away from what we've experienced. And there we
Great
go.
visibility here.
So yeah, we've got
some distance to make up.
Yeah, quite a lot of distance still to make up, but it shouldn't take them too long. What about? It should be about 10 kilometers for them. I hope from this distance. That's roughly about how far away they are. So we'll see them in a moment here.
Great views, the terrain here on Pharaoh, one of the moons of Pyro 5, seeing Pyro 5 itself hanging up into the skyline, but a great opportunity to give a shout out for our production crew, the camera angles we've been provided, and the beautiful views throughout the entire System 7 race circuit. These camera operators really demonstrating not only their skill as pilots, but also as photographers, cinematographers, delivering the cinematic views that have made this an interesting and engaging site for those at home. So I want to say a big shout out and our appreciation for delivering the views that make this the System 7.
Yep. One big thing right now for Test Squadron, at the very least, they don't have to worry about there being any pressure. There's no other races on the field. Just trying to finish it to lock it in. Like I said, they performed extremely well today. Just one major issue caused them to lose all of their positions. It was really fun for that first half of the race, watching Test Squadron have that fight with Kuroda Racing for pretty much all the way to the Polaris. They even left the Polaris at the exact same time, right? They literally like accelerated away from it. Sorry, not the Polaris, the Caterpillar. They accelerated away from the Caterpillar at the exact same time. It was very fun to watch.
Yeah, and obviously the heartbreak of realizing you get turned around like that in that type of situation, especially when you've been so competitive for first place. But you gotta be really proud about how they've completed the entire series of races. Their performance this year, putting them solidly within the middle of the contention here, and just outside of reach on some of the top placements, but really representing well for a first-time team in the System 7, and almost didn't make the qualifiers, but have been representing Test Squadron very well. And not to leave out the rest of the teams, Liz Motorsports, Drunken Turtle Racing, coming in behind there, Delta Diatus, Venture Origins, Premier Corps, all of your favorites out there who are kind of in the middle of the pack there throughout the event. It's a competitive process, right? And we see some skill and we see some luck playing into both.
We certainly do. And as we approach the end of the System 7, we want to thank once again all of our sponsors and partners. Red, I'll get you to spam off another lovely partner that we've got of your choice.
Yeah, Toby is one of those accessories that really drives your immersion to the next level when you're playing with a head and eye tracker, the Toby 5. So revolutionize your gameplay with Toby head and eye tracking. It's one that I really appreciate as I'm dogfighting, even just flying around in the verse, being able to look around your cockpit with ease. No other devices required to attach, and with the eye tracking, letting if you're a streamer like me, it lets people see exactly what you're looking on screen to follow along as you're going. So with Toby, they are a sponsor here for Atmo Esports. Make sure to use the coupon code ATMO at checkout to appreciate a bit of a discount there.
Not to mention, if you are a racer, Toby does give you that little bit of extra edge where you are able to essentially turn your head to like it shows itself a lot during ship racing, and I'm sure we'll see it during our Gravity Rush League, gravityrush.gg. Go to the link right now. But when we do go to that league, I'm sure you'll see a lot of our competitors who are using Toby have that little bit extra advantage where they're able to see away from where they're actually moving, and that gives them a much better perspective of their entire area.
Yeah. And we see here just Test Squadron finishing up. They're coming over the last couple of hills here into the finish line for System 7. And again, that Gravity Rush, organized by Atmo Esports and Laser, Litho Aerospace Racing. Signups are open now through June 14th, and time trials are open on scr.gg until June 16th. So gravityrush.gg. And yeah, for the first place, there's an invitation to the
Well,
Atmo
I was going to say,
Esports,
don't tell him,
next
don't
event.
tell him, don't tell him just yet. Don't tell him just yet, Red.
Oh,
Don't tell him
okay.
just yet.
All right. Sign
If
ups
you guys
close
want to
June
find
14th.
out, yeah. So you get your sign-ups in, but if you want to find out what the prizes for Gravity Rush are, wait until after the end of this race. We'll tell you guys all about it. It's very, very cool. The prizes are very, very dope. So we'll give it a second. We'll let it brew for you guys.
Yeah. Hashtag spoiler, my turn there, Croncy. So as we see this last little bit of terrain. And again, call out for some of our other sponsors: Monster Tech for high-end sim rigs and mounting solutions built for elite level immersion and performance, flight chairs, joystick, desk mounts, and chair mounts, and full sim rigs if you're one of those people who likes to have a full carriage style cockpit. They've got the solutions for you. Discount code ATMO at checkout. And then Icon City, from sci-fi themes to studio grade layouts. Icon City brings personality and power to your Stream Deck setup to manage the complex number of sorry, I'm distracted by what's happening on screen here. The complex number of keybinds you got to memorize in StarCitizen. Bring those into your Stream Deck for maximum immersion.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. If you're just joining us once again, guys, this is the end of the System 7 for this year. It is the finals, 29:55. I'm hoping that's desync that we are looking at right now, but it appears not to be, as it looks like we have gotten out of the vehicle.
Oh,
Not sure exactly what's happening here.
that could be a hydration break, maybe. Just take a
Possibly.
quick break and sip a cuppa.
Yep.
Yeah, we see the cruise bottles.
Wow,
hitting the
and
ground.
littering. Yeah, that's right. Pick it up.
Wow.
How dare you?
Yeah,
The
you
moons of
just gotta
Pyro
let
5
it,
have a very delicate
brew.
ecosystem. There we go.
And this is, of course, Test Squadron paying the price for their distance record they attempted today. That hydration, the health aspects of a long-term endurance type race. Giving us a little bit more time on the backside here and make sure our leaderboards are getting updated. And you see the armor here frosted over. The temperatures here are going to be variable, but glad they're able to get back in. Let's finish out strong.
We are back off once again.
That break in the racing brought to you by Cruise Lux, the racer's choice for hydration and nutrition.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cruise Lux not one of our sponsors. What the hell, CRG? What's going on? Would you drink it? I would. I think Cruise Lux seems like it would be really nice. It seems like it would be like a sports drink, but like fancy, if that makes sense.
I mean, honestly, it's my preferred beverage, but I will say the purple version. I forget the exact. That's one of my favorites. I just advise against drinking anything you can find in Pyro that's not Cruise. I took one of those bottles of reclaimed water, and yeah, that made for a very short mining trip.
I do have to say, times must be very, very tough for the citizens of Pyro. If you haven't been to the PTU yet, there are a bunch of new locations, and these locations, they look like they have money, right? Like they look like they're pretty loaded. And even they're drinking reclaimed water. I noticed that they had all that loot. So it's all I'm saying is, look, we may be around Volcano Lake right now on Fierro, but would not recommend diving in and drinking that water, I guess. Maybe it's not even water. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah, well, part of the system with the irradiation that happens, the solar flares that we're in early testing, but have been pulled out right now, coming back into the game, making Pyro a lot more of a dangerous environment. Obviously, just about anything here you don't really want to trust. Definitely don't get Pyro-based sushi. That's a risk not worth taking.
I don't even know what fishes you can find here.
Yeah, no, I don't know if they've categorized them all. They keep mutating new variants just about every week.
And I swear some of them are just arms. Only a few kilometers away
Now,
from the finish line here, guys, I imagine, before we see Test Squadron cross the finish line. Once again, while we're here, let us know, what was your favorite moment during the System 7? Did it happen today? Was it when Herbie got out to help check leak? Was it during one of our really intense races like we had just now between Amarok's Fang and Kuroda Racing? Let us know. Share them with us so we can relive this fantastic season.
yeah, with those dueling Noxes on Bermuda Bay, crossing the water and seeing the mist pop up behind them, the epic scenery between Pyro and Stanton, if you've got a preference there. And while we're bringing this home, Croncy, I want to say it's been a pleasure broadcasting alongside you, having the play-by-play commentary as we watch some of the best racers out there. People, I don't think I could even compete with on these types of tracks, but being able to provide that commentary, it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you for being my kind of co-host here, as well for the production crews working behind the scenes, as well as all of the folks involved with Atmo Esports to deliver these experiences. There's a lot of challenge that goes into running events on an early access game like this. They have worked diligently behind the scenes, tirelessly, and thanklessly in a lot of cases to make this happen. And the amount of effort that goes into it, you don't see it, but the fact is, the reason why things have gone as smoothly as they have is because all of the effort of those literal hundreds of people working behind the scenes to make this happen.
Yep, it's been absolutely fantastic season, and I echo those sentiments right back at you, Red. It has been fantastic to commentate with you, and it's been especially fantastic to commentate race number 7 as Test Squadron. And they have a couple more little hills here. You can see all of our ships at the finish line in the background there as Test Squadron come across. A reminder, our winner for the race today, Amarok's Fang, followed by Kuroda Racing, Punch Nomi's, Premier Core Colonial, and Venture Origins. And we are watching Test Squadron right now. Our last team to cross the finish line.
So many of these rocks you've just been able to drive right through. They pulled the David Copperfield, but this one said no.
Yep. They're trying to add more content for us. They're trying to see just how much we can talk before the finish of the race.
I really wonder what was in that cruise bottle when they took their break a couple of minutes ago. Driving it home. Congratulations to Team Amarok's Fang, Kuroda Racing, Punch Nomi's, Premier Core Colonial, Venture Origins, as well as Test Squadron, Delta Diatus, and Drunken Turtles. Getting in there. We know the top 3 today was pretty much mathematically locked in, with some opportunities for 4th place that didn't quite materialize. These folks representing their orgs, their racing teams really well throughout the entire series of races here on the System 7. And bringing it home for the bragging rights that she completed it. Couple more hills to go.
Final few turns. Test Squadron are really, really milking this this final run.
Yeah, and this has been a really challenging bit of racing. Obviously, Volcano Lake, those scattered lakes in the middle, we saw teams get disoriented. The Polaris Bridge, we saw some full sends. We didn't get a replay on it, but there was an explosion there. That was a bit of a difference maker. And really, the amount of proximity these groups kept together, a few seconds apart for the finish, and really those three-way battles throughout the majority of the race, only separating in the last couple of kilometers, and people exchanging back and forth. It was not locked in for anybody.
Exactly. All right, here we go. This is our finishing line view. Let's get some hype for Test Squadron crossing the finish line. If you are watching at home, the System 7, get all your cheers in. Congratulations to all of our racers today and throughout the entire series proper for participating. There is a dead 890J there for some reason. Don't worry about it. It's just part of the decor.
Yeah. Scenery and pyro, just adding to the authenticity of the dangers here. As we come in for the final team about to cross the finish line, the last few seconds. Big shout out to all of our teams racing this year. Everybody who submitted for qualifiers. And don't forget Gravity Rush. Sign-ups are open now through June 14th. So a couple weeks here. Get your qualifying times through the time trials up until June 16th. And there we have it. Test Squadron. At an hour 59 minutes, coming in 6th place on System 7, Race 7, Volcano Lake on Pyro.
Yeah, well done, team. Just shy of 2 hours. And that is going to be the final race. That is everything done and dusted for the System 7, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, racers. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. Let's have a look at our leaderboard. Let's see exactly where all of our teams ended up at the end of the season. And here we have it. Your first place winners. Congratulations, Punch Nomi's champions of System 7 2955. Well done. Not to be outdone, of course, though. Amarok's Fang in second place for this season, and Delta Dietus in third. All securing some awesome prizes, which we did show earlier in today's broadcast, but as well, of course, getting automatic qualifications for next year's season. So if you want to see those three teams once again, and make sure you come back next year, and if you are one of these other teams that performed incredibly well this entire season, make sure you come back, qualify again, and take them off the podium.
Yeah, it's anybody's game out there. These races have been very competitive, and want to say a great performance from top three. Punch Nomi's Amarok's Fang and Delta Dietus. Nail-biter moments throughout the day, and only 11 points separating Punch Nomi's from Amarok's Fang at the end. So highly competitive there. Congratulations for our top three. Coming up behind them is Catcom, Blackhawks, Corota Racing, Premier Corps Colonial, and Test Squadron bringing up the top 8 with Venture Origins, Sire Racing Team, Liz Motorsports, Alpine Storm, Drunken Turtle, Nexus, Novak Racing, and Flynn's Free Riders all in the second half. And of course, congratulations to Punch Nomis. You guys earned this hard. That was a dominant performance, taking up number 1 in this year's System 7.
And showing you guys once again what it is that they have won. If we can very, very quickly do that. Delta Dietus in third place are going to win some awesome prizes. So they're going to get a Miss Starlincer Max. So they're going to get a System 7 jersey each, as well as a couple of ground vehicles. Amarok's Fang are going to pick themselves up an Anvil Asgard, a couple of jerseys, and a couple of ground vehicles. And then, of course, the trophy goes towards Team Punch Nomis, as well as that big old Anvil Liberator, some championship jackets, and some ground vehicles. So congratulations there, guys. Well done once again. Now, I did promise you guys we would talk a little bit more about Gravity Rush. There's some cool prizes that have been announced for Gravity Rush, which will be coming in a couple weeks' time. For the top 3 of Gravity Rush, what are they going to be getting, Red?
All right. They're going to get an invitation to the Aopoa Esports next LAN event. They are going to get the VKB Gunfighter 4 Space Edition joysticks. They're going to get the Monster Tech table or chair mount to go with those new joysticks, as well a Gravity Rush jersey, a Gravity Rush medal, and digital ships from CIG.
Exactly. And not to mention first place, of course, getting that Gravity Rush trophy. So once again, gravityrush.gg, sign-ups close June 14th, only a couple of weeks from now. So if you really, really enjoyed watching System 7, and maybe you're like, hey, I'd like to do that, but in a ship, make sure you come and join up for Gravity Rush. So as always, of course, though, we want to say thank you very much to all of our viewers for joining us during the System 7. Thank you once again to Red for commentating with me. Thank you very much to all of our staff for organizing the event, all of our camera people, everyone associated. It's been a hell of a season.
Yeah, good job, everybody out there who participated in the System 7. Thank you all for your participation, and thank you for the Atmos Sports crew who really host these events. And GravityRush.gg, June 14th signups. Get that done ASAP.
System 7 2955 is over. I finally get to sleep on Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah.